In September, U.S. Secret Service agent Sean Bridges pled guilty to money laundering in connection to the theft of $820,000 in Bitcoin related to the Silk Road investigation. Clark could face a maximum of life in prison if convicted on the narcotics charges and 20 years if convicted of money laundering. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Jerry Falwell Jr., president of Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, is encouraging students to carry concealed weapons on campus for protection, according to a local newspaper. Falwell made his remarks at the school's weekly convocation on Friday night, according to the News and Advance in Lynchburg. The comments came 2 days after a shooting in San Bernardino, California that left 14 people dead, and in the wake of other shooting sprees in the United States, including some on college campuses. Falwell said, "It just blows my mind when I see the President of the United States say that the answer to circumstances like this is more gun control." Falwell Jr. urged students to take free classes offered by the university's police department to obtain a concealed weapons permit. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Inclement weather prevents a liar from getting to work, and a lunchbox is mostly medication. Sources across the nation impatiently reported today that the 24-hour news cycle seemed to be taking forever, telling reporters that the continuous coverage from MSNBC, CNN, and other news sources was simply not continuous enough. Frustrated Americans demanded more panel coverage, around-the-clock bulletins, and breaking reactions from Twitter.
It's like, sure, I have 5 channels of unending news updates constantly flooding my screen, but each one of those only has one slow-moving news ticker. Why not 3 or 4 running at triple speed? Honestly, these networks need to understand that I can't just wait around all day for minute-by-minute coverage.
And in this week's science news, a new report finds that lake ice grows safer to venture out on with each beer consumed. In other news, the beauty industry announces a new initiative to make women self-conscious about their palms. A beautiful cinnamon bun is too good for this world, too pure. And a picky eater is 38.
This is the Onion News Network.
It's Free Talk Live, Live Sunday edition. You are invited to take control of the airways. We'll give you our toll-free numbers and the Skype username that allow you to do that here in a few moments. We're actually starting out tonight with a special guest, which we don't really do guests very often on Free Talk Live. It is generally intended to be an open phones panel discussion where you can take control of the airwaves. It's Ian and Mark in the studio tonight. And Mark, you invited our guest, who is a former guest of the show. We've had him on, I think, live from the Liberty Forum, if I'm remembering correctly, the New Hampshire Liberty Forum, which is actually coming up again in February. We'll tell you more about that here in a little bit. It's Tom Mullen. Can you do a quick intro?
Tom's an author, and he wrote me in a quick email saying that he's been doing some research for a book that he's got coming out. And I'm interested in the topic. What he's been doing is looking at the historical roots of conservatism, liberalism, and libertarianism. Oftentimes we're told that libertarianism it's a subset of conservatism. And Tom says, not so. So, Tom,
welcome back.
Defend that thesis.
Thanks very much, guys, for having me on. The book is actually out. It's called Where Do Conservatives and Liberals Come From? And Whatever Happened to Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. And what I do in the book is to take 134 words out of the Declaration of Independence that everybody, conservative, liberal, independent, libertarian, whomever, say that they agree with, which is, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that we are all created equal, endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights, that the government is instituted to secure these rights. Not all us libertarians actually believe that, but, mainly 99% of society says they do. And what I wanted to do is really look at the the bright lights, the philosophers, and the movers and shakers in conservatism and liberalism, and see, do they actually say they agree with this or not? And I guess in the 21st century, it's not very surprising that the philosophical basis for liberalism is kind of antithetical to that idea.
When you look at a liberal from the 18th or 19th century, early 19th century, you're not going to find somebody who thinks that people should get a living wage, or necessarily that somebody that should get a minimum paycheck, or welfare, and these sorts of things that are very sort of progressive stuff these days.
Yeah, and I think we have to define our terms, because the word liberal now does not mean what it meant in the 19th century in America. Now we call those people classical liberals, right? We feel we need a modifier, because if we just call them liberals, what they said and what liberals today say would be at odds with each other.
Sure.
So where I go in the book with liberals, if you really want to understand the liberal mindset, even much more than Karl Marx, you have to read a guy named Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And what basically all of the philosophers that I looked at that are Enlightenment philosophers kind of started from the same place, what they call the state of nature, which is not so much some ancient time, but more the state we would be in if you took the government away and there was nothing there. There was no government at all. What would man be like? What would he be inclined to do? And for Rousseau, it's very simple. Everything was great. We were in kind of a Garden of Eden, a blissful state of ignorance, until somebody said, "This is mine." And I think he says, and found people simple enough to believe him, that once we had private property, then all the trouble started. And what occurs over time with people owning private property is these gross inequalities. And so for Rousseau, the purpose of the government is to correct the inequality that occurs with private property. And very interestingly, he uses the word alienation. He says what this requires is the total alienation of the individual, together with all of his rights, to the general will.
Yeah, you'd have to do something like that. I'm trying to imagine a world where somebody said, "This is mine," because I'm pretty sure, from what I can tell, I've seen some farm animals before. I'm going to assume they're lower beasts than we are, and they're all about mine. They said mine far before a man came along. Certainly what we'd call a Homo sapien today. Like
a dog with a bone, or the pigs at the trough, or something like
right,
that.
I'm thinking of my
snake hole. Right.
My 550-pound sow Hazel believes that she should get to eat first, and then everybody else can eat after she's full. And yeah, she's all about mine.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the great conflicts here. But what I wanted to kind of show is, and if you read the passages I share from this writer, thinker, and you go and read the books yourself, it's undeniable that his way of looking at the world is Hillary Clinton's, was Ted Kennedy's, was Woodrow Wilson's, etc. So the modern liberal is really a Rousseauian, and Rousseau himself says there are no unalienable rights. They've all got to be given away if you want to, accomplish the goals of a free society. So you can kind of scratch them off. And I think what's more interesting I don't think many liberals would deny that. I've talked to them myself, and they say, look, we shouldn't be listening to the founding fathers, those slave owners. And even if they didn't have slaves, their ideas are 250 years old. Society has had to progress. So I don't think they would have too much trouble with saying, hey, well, you're not consistent with the Declaration of Independence. I think the conservatives would, but unfortunately, when you read the conservatives, the true conservatives, they don't agree either. They do not believe there are inalienable rights. They believe that everything from nature is given up as well.
Yeah, I don't see how you can really argue one way or the other. What conservatives appear to be in this country, and I'm sure they're different in other countries, is they appear to be sort of anti-immigration, pro-military, and when I say military, I mean quasi-military organizations like the police and firefighters also. So they're not anti-government. They're anti-government without guns or hoses. They don't like the bureaucrats, those that work within the bureaus and the regulatory state and that sort of thing. But they don't seem to have any real particular problem with government.
Well, it's their outlook on the nature of man, and I think what most people who self-identify as conservatives, thinking they mean small, limited government, mistake is that conservatism to me was defined for the modern era best by Thomas Hobbes. He believed we're so bad and we're so fallen that without this all-powerful government to thwart our every inclination, that we were just going to kill each other. Or,
he says
there's going to be chaos.
He's the one in Leviathan that says the life of man, solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. It's a suggestion. Yeah.
And the thing about it is that, and I think most well-read conservatives would say, no, I don't agree with Hobbes. I'm more of a Burkean, Edmund Burke, Russell Kirk, more of a constitutionalist. And there is a difference there in that they think power should be divided. But here's the thing with conservatives. They agree with Hobbes on everything else. They believe that even though the power might be divided between state and federal governments or local governments, that it all resides in the government somewhere. Everything must be regulated. Nothing is left to the individual. And I think this is where people don't understand the conservative mindset is of man, of this fallen creature. And that's why, no matter how ridiculous the video might look on some police like brutality case or something like that, they'll always side with the police officer. And it's not just because they love his shiny badge on his uniform. They really think that that's all that stands between us and our dark natures. And this is a way of looking at the world. They're not reading out of Edmund Burke's book, but they look at the world the same way that he did and that Thomas Hobbes did.
So what you're saying is that a conservative, and I'm not trying to rag on conservatives here, I'm happy to rag on liberals too. What conservatives do is that they essentially, they're operating from fear, and that if it isn't for the state-run policing agencies or whatever whatever's out there, then we'd all fall off into darkness anyway. So we have to support them even if they make mistakes.
Tom, hold that thought. We're going to come back. If you've got time, we'll stick with you here. Tom Mullen, author, is with us. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you thinking about your Medicare benefits right now? Original Medicare may not cover all of your needs, and the deadline to choose your plan is rapidly approaching. Plus, whatever Medicare plan you choose is locked in for a full year. So the wrong choice could cost you thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket costs. At Health Markets, we can help you find a plan to minimize those costs with one free phone call. You could spend hours doing all the research yourself, or our licensed agents can do it for you for free. Call Health Markets now for free help.
800-978-4818. 800-978-4818. 800-978-4818. Again, that's 800-978-4818. Health Markets Insurance Agency is a DBA of InSphere Insurance Solutions, licensed in all 50 states and D.C. Service and product availability varies by state. Agents may be compensated based on your enrollment.
Did you know that home break-ins increase more than 100% during the holidays? It takes just 10 seconds for an intruder to kick in your door. But police response to a home alarm system is more than 20 minutes. And intruders are in and out of your home in 5 minutes. Thieves know that you're not home and have presents inside just waiting to be taken. And if you are home, how safe will you feel with an intruder lurking inside with your family? That's why police across the country are recommending you use door armor. Proven to withstand the force of a battering ram, door armor keeps intruders out. It's easy to install and barely visible, and your door armor is guaranteed for life. Go to InvasionStopper.com for a very special buy one, get one at half off deal. These savings are for a limited time and only available to GCN listeners. Protect your valuables and loved ones this holiday season. Go to InvasionStopper.com now. That's InvasionStopper.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308. Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in here, toll free at 855-450-FREE. Where do conservatives and liberals come from? That's a new book by author Tom Mullen. He's been on Free Talk Live previously, I believe from the Liberty Forum, at least one, maybe more than one, in the past, which is actually coming up very soon. The Liberty Forum in 2016 is slated for February 18th through the 21st. It's a Thursday through Sunday. It's happening in Manchester, New Hampshire. Last year it moved from Nashua to Manchester for the first time, and the new venue, the Radisson Hotel, is the biggest. It is the key kind of convention venue in New Hampshire. So the event can't really get much bigger than this at this point. It's several hundred people will be in the hotel for the weekend and gathering for keynote speeches and panel discussions and all kinds of convention-y things, banquet dinners, that whole deal. You can go and get your tickets now at nhlibertyforum.com. Edward Snowden is the first announced keynote speaker for the event, which is awesome. It's an amazing score for the Liberty Forum. nhlibertyforum.com, February 18th through the 21st. You can join us there because, Mark, you and I were going to be broadcasting live from the Liberty Forum, as has been our long-standing tradition here. So look forward to seeing you February 18th through the 21st. Start making your plans now. Get your tickets at nhlibertyforum.com. Tom Mullen is with us on Skype. And you were just talking, Mark, with Tom about the sort of blind support that conservatives have for the state. Like, right. Go ahead.
And I'm not trying to rag on conservatives here. I will definitely get to liberals here in a minute. But philosophies come from places, and Tom's trying to point out what those where they come from. But I mean, you sort of have to define it to some extent too. So. In dealing with conservatives, oftentimes you'll hear this term thrown around, and I've certainly had it thrown at me, America hater. So if you try to point out some mistakes that that Washington, D.C., the people in Washington, D.C., no matter what time period it is that they made it, if you point out a mistake and you don't say, you don't use the term American exceptionalism before you point out the mistake, you hate America is the idea. And it doesn't seem to matter that you can delineate mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake that, well, our government's the best. They make mistakes 47% of the time, and the rest of them make mistakes 44% of the time. So ours is awesome. Yeah. Why don't you shut up, you America hater? Tom?
Yeah, that comes straight out of Thomas Hobbes. He talks about exactly that over 300 years ago and says that, look, the state of nature is so bad and the government's absolute power so necessary that even when it does terrible things, it's better to just live under them than to question the sovereign power, because the minute you question it, you're on the way. You're on the way back. There's going to be a breakdown. It's going to be chaos. And, this is a persistent idea that better to live under a bad law than to even question the law. The law is sacred. The people who enforce it are sacred. They, no matter how terrible they get, they're all that stand between us and the war of everyone against everyone that would otherwise be our fate without government. So, and this extends to foreign policy as well. And this is where I think it's most striking today. Clear thinking people ask, why in the world does the most powerful government that's ever existed in the history of man care about what's going on in some destitute little country 7,000 miles away? Well, it's because they see all nations the way they see individuals in society, that they all have to be dominated, because any kind of nation that is not under the dominance of the quote unquote sovereign, in this case the most powerful nation, is a danger, no matter how small and insignificant it might be. And this is really our approach to the world right now.
If they come on the radar, it's a form of rebelliousness. Oh my God, what has Putin said? He's gonna kill us all. Russia's got nuclear weapons, or whatever it is that people say. That's the mindset. It's the reason the United States foreign policy, in the form of the State Department, has decided what the immigration policy of Latin American countries is going to look like. It's decided what their central banks are going to do. It's deciding basically everything that they do. They let them pass a few laws here and there, but it operates as though Washington, D.C. rules the world.
Yeah, and if you go back to the Civil War, the whole idea of the domino theory is deeply rooted in Hobbesian or Burkean thinking, really. If we let this little tiny country become communist, it's going to just spread all over the world. Of course, that was disproven. I mean, the communists did take over the whole country, and they abandoned communism on their own. So you would think that we would have learned something from that, but no, on and on and on, just keep applying the same ideas. And really the reason I wanted to write the book is for people to recognize them, recognize they've been disproven, and separate them from what I believe that most grassroots self-identified conservatives are, which are people who want to be libertarians.
Yeah. I think that many people who call themselves conservative are in fact libertarian. They just don't know the difference. And this is a point that I'll try to point out to conservatives over and over again, is if conservatism is a philosophy, it would be a staid and permanent philosophy. It is not.
You could define it. You can't really.
You can't define conservative.
Nor with liberalism.
Liberalism, you can come closer. You can just point out, the planks of the Communist Manifesto and say, look, they're socialist, and you can go from there. But conservatism truly is not a philosophy. There's nothing in it that's philosophical, and I'll make my point here. My great-grandmother, Pauline Traub, she was a conservative. She pulled down a hickory branch, and she beat the hell out of my great-uncles for when she found a deck of cards in the house. She beat them bloody with that stick because she was a conservative. Now, how many conservatives today are going to be advocating for beating their kids till they're bloody if they find a deck of cards? Well, that's because they're not conservatives, and neither was she. I'm sure her great-grandmother was nuttier than she was in that respect, because conservatism moves along, it drags behind the times as far as a timeline goes.
Yeah, and you point out something that Tom Woods, I quote Tom Woods in the book, being frustrated about how now we're defending quote-unquote conservative New Deal principles, and how they vehemently defend Social Security and Medicare when a few decades ago that they were against it. And it goes back to this idea, the established tradition, legal tradition that is, must never be questioned. And back when it was new, of course, they opposed it. Now that it's established, like you said, there's no principle here. It's just that
that does sound like a principle. That
Yeah.
does sound like a principle, right? Anything that is in the past is good, and that which is proposed to change is bad. So that could be it.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you could call it a principle.
It's no different than liberalism is today either. If you talk to a conservative, then you go talk to a liberal, and you say, okay, what time period in U.S. history was the best? They will both say the 1950s for different reasons. The liberals will say unions were very strong, and the disparity between rich and poor was better, and the rest of the world was a smoking slag heap because they'd blown each other to hell, and so therefore the United States was able to have stupid socialist policies and, still get away with it.
More with Tom Mullen here. The toll-free number, 855-450-3733. And if you have a question for him, he's on with us. Liberals, conservatives, what's it really even mean anyway? It's Free Talk Live Sunday show.
A lot of people's lives and bodies are out of balance. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops optimize pH level and get rid of harmful waste and acid. Just a few drops in water restores vibrance and energy and gets you back in balance. Now order 2 bottles and get $10 off your order. Sign up for monthly auto shipping and save 25%. Call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but we'll hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The toll-free number, it's 855-450-FREE. Live Sunday edition, continuing with special guest Tom Mullen. He is not in our studio, but he's on via Skype. So if you were wanting to call via Skype, you can't do that at the moment. So if you've got a question for Tom, toll-free numbers 855-450-3733. SaveItPurse.com. You want to save 20% over at Amazon? Let's say you wanted to save on Tom's new book. You could do that. His book's called Where Do Conservatives and Liberals Come From? If you go to SaveItPurse.com, when you buy through Save It Purse, the person who's selling on Amazon is getting the full amount. So it's not like Tom takes 20% less. The way Save It Purse works is you're putting your Bitcoin. You have to have Bitcoin to make this work. You're putting your Bitcoin into a marketplace, and then somebody is paying 20% above the market value for Bitcoin in order to get your Bitcoin. So everybody wins with SaveItPurse.com. Somebody who wants Bitcoin and is willing to pay a premium for it gets their Bitcoin. Tom, if you buy his book, gets the full amount that he's supposed to get from Amazon. Amazon makes their regular profits, and you get the book that you want for 20% off or 30%. You decide what your discount's going to be at SaveItPurse.com. That's SaveATPurse.com. We got Tom back on the line with us here.
Yeah, Tom. So what your thesis here is the United States' revolution, the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson's writings, that these are influenced by Locke, and that the U.S. revolution is essentially a libertarian one. Now, obviously, at some point or another, the wheels came off that train. The United States government went from libertarian to something else, and we've spent a couple of segments kind of parsing out conservatism and that kind of thing. Let's talk about liberalism for a second. Where are these people that don't understand economics? Where do they come from?
Well, yeah, again, it goes back to, and I think much more than Marx. I think Marx gives way too much credit. I hate this kind of sanctimonious, well, he did make a lot of good points, even though ultimately he was wrong. I think Marx was a hack, and I don't think any of his economic ideas hold any water, even internally. But
which one?
He's really more, just as Burke kind of played off of Hobbes, Marx played off of Rousseau. They all believe one thing: there's something inherently wrong with private property. It sets up this original sin, if you will.
It's antithetical to the state. Private property is antithetical to the state. If you can deny something from the grabbing hands of the government, then you can deny anything to them, and they cannot be denied.
Yeah, absolutely. And where they go with this is the answer is absolute democracy, an all-powerful democracy. The Bill of Rights says even a democratically elected Congress may not pass certain laws. In fact, the tradition, the libertarian tradition that starts, I believe, with Locke, says the government can't pass most laws. All they can really do is respond to some invasion of a property right. Now, of course, Thomas Jefferson and Samuel Adams, they didn't always apply this
No,
perfectly. They supported a lot of horrible things, but the ideas were very new back then, and they've been applied better over time. But the liberals don't believe this. They believe that at one point Rousseau says, "Well, what would happen if I didn't agree with the majority?" He says, "Well, that's how I know I was wrong." I mean, it's just some great circular logic. And really, that's how they think. And if you listen to American liberal politicians, that's pretty much what they're saying.
Yeah, you'll never hear a liberal say that democracy should be applied on a global scale, right? Like you'll never hear them say, we need a big giant computer program that lets everybody vote on every single issue, and then the majority will decide, because it'd be Southeast Asia and China that would be making all the decisions for all the rest of us, and nobody else would make any decisions.
Yeah, and I think what happened in the 20th century, and I don't get into this in part one, which is the only part of the book that's out, but part two, you start to get this jumble of ideas. And where I think the liberal movement went in the 20th century was they took the purpose of government from Rousseau, which is to correct inequality from private property, but they took the means to do so from the conservatives, which is an all-powerful unitary government, small group of elites with as strong a central leader as possible. And if you look at Wilson and FDR and LBJ and the rest, I mean, that's really what they were, but they had a different purpose. It wasn't to make us all virtuous and squash the evil in us. It was to make us all equal, and especially economically equal.
Tom, I got Doug on the line in Illinois with a question for you. Doug, you're on with Tom Mullen.
Yeah, I pretty much wanted to bring up and find out from Tom if, in your opinion, do you feel that we have the government infringing upon private property more and more? To give you an idea, I know of two people who bought a home up in Chicago a while ago. They were going to put an addition on it. They were going to remodel it. And a bunch of people in the neighborhood got word of it, and they didn't like it. And they went and they tried to effectively get the Landmark Commission to approve an overlay on the home. They did get it done. The two people who bought the home had nothing in it. Keep in mind, they bought the home. They own the home, but they had nothing involved in putting the Landmark Commission overlay on it. Now they have to jump through every type of hoop imaginable to try and get anything done. They effectively don't own the home. They have to get permission for whatever they do. I mean, if you want to put down re-roof the home, now you got to get approval to ensure it'll be the proper type of shingle. I think that what we're moving toward here we're moving toward the collective and not the individual. We're moving more toward mob rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And private property, and I think as either Mark or Ian said before, is the complete opposite of the state. It's been under assault for all of the past century, maybe more. Think about property taxes. I mean, you really rent your home. If you don't pay, they kick you out and they take it away. But the other thing that comes to mind, along with what you're talking about, as far as zoning or other kinds of permitting for what you can do on your own property, is also what happened with the Civil Rights Act, where suddenly some private property becomes a public accommodation. That's a creepy word. The Civil Rights Act had a great intention, but Titles 2 and 7 pretty much eliminated the idea that any kind of a business is a private property. So, yeah, that distinction seems to be eroded more and more and more. I absolutely agree with you. And that is the central issue that we should be facing, because really you don't have any rights that aren't tied to some kind of private property.
Right, and we are discussing... Go ahead, Doug.
I found that to be incredible. That had been a turning point in my life when that happened, for the fact that it turned from being, okay, you have to go to the government to get a permit to ensure that you're having the work done properly to ensure nobody will get hurt, to, okay, you now have to get approval from a board to ensure that you're doing what the community would like the way your home to look. You no longer buy a home, okay, to make it your own. You are like renting it, and you're living to benefit other people. Well, you know what? The hell with that, man. They're not paying the mortgage. They're not paying to upkeep the home. Why should they be involved in it?
Not only that, but they can come into your home any damn time they want to. I mean, if you look at what happened after the Boston bombing in Watertown, Massachusetts, where you have men with guns who were literally entering every single home, and there were libertarians down there at the time that we knew personally who were too afraid of these men with the guns to actually stand up for themselves and to even try to say, no, you can't come in here. So, and then you've got that happening here. And then, of course, over in France, now they've got this emergency powers that is allowing them to arrest and put activists on house arrest and then go in and raid those people's homes preemptively, basically. So now there's a news story today about how the federal government is rethinking its homeland security policy. So, look for more invasions of your privacy coming very, very soon. Doug, thanks for your call here tonight. And Tom Mullen, it's Where Do Conservatives and Liberals Come From? That's the book. Amazon is, of course, a place to go and get it. Thanks for coming on Free Talk Live tonight.
Thanks very much for having me, guys.
Appreciate
Always
it,
a pleasure.
Yep, that's TomMullen.net. That's his website, by the way. And we'll come back with more Free Talk Live. You can join us here on the air.
Have you become a slave to big tobacco? Have they taken away your money, your health, and even your freedom, forcing you to stand out in the cold this winter? There's an alternative. With the help of Jimmy the Juice Man and GiantVapes.com, for less than the cost of a carton of cigarettes, you can make the switch to electronic cigarettes and take back your freedom. At GiantVapes.com, you'll find a selection of high-quality, reasonably priced electronic cigarette hardware kits to get you started, and a selection of delicious, premium, flavored liquid refills from the award-winning Jimmy the Juice Man brand. These aren't the junk you find at your local convenience store or gas station. Use coupon code FTL10 for 10% off your first order of hardware and Jimmy the Juice Man brand liquid at GiantVapes.com, where you'll always get free guaranteed same-day shipping. Break free of the chains of sin taxes and big tobacco. Free same-day shipping and 10% off from GiantVapes.com with coupon code FTL10. That's GiantVapes.com with coupon code FTL10.
Concerned about harmful contaminants in your water? Look to ProPure, the most trusted name in gravity water filtration systems. ProPure, with the silver-infused Pro 1G 2.0 filter, removes over 200 contaminants, including VOCs, heavy metals, chloramines, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, fluorides, and radiologicals. We don't just say it, we back it up. The Pro 1G 2.0 filter is NSF 42 certified and independently tested to meet NSF 53 and P231 standards. Pro Pure Water, the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. Purchase with confidence in quality, performance, and customer service. Take advantage of our biggest holiday 25% off sale going on now. Visit your authorized Pro Pure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com. Or call 800-544-3533. 800-544-3533.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
Why are you playing a slot machine sound for an online poker site?
Do you have a poker sound effect? Because we have a new advertiser, swcpoker.eu.
Brought to you by the same guys that did seals with clubs.
Now they're called swcpoker.eu. It's Bitcoin Poker 2.0. They have lots of new games, including Chinese poker. The Krill leaderboard is active now. It's Bitcoin Poker from the brand you trust, swcpoker.eu.
Get on over to swcpoker.eu and start playing now.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live Sunday edition here. You may join us. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Join us via Skype. Now you can do that because Tom Mullen, our previous guest, is off the Skype, which means we got room for you there. And you'll sound better usually than if you call on the phone. So give that a try. If you don't yet have Skype on your phone, you can grab it and then add us as username LRN.FM. Don't forget to go to freetalklive.com, get interactive on our brand new website. Everything there still free. Although I'll tell you it was not free to redesign the site. So please enjoy the changes over at freetalklive.com. Grab all the archives you want. Submit content right there to the front page. Vote on what other listeners have put on there. You can vote it up if you like it, vote it down if you don't. It's suggested show topics, for instance. And maybe you've got something you want us to talk about. You can suggest it there. Of course, the best way to get what you want on the air is to call in, like Tom in New Hampshire has done. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live. This is not Tom Mullen. This is Tom in New Hampshire. Tom, go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, it's about the, first of all, a pointer here. When people call in, if I had dialed *70 before I dialed the number, then I would not have been interrupted by a call waiting issue one time when I called in, and it was difficult to talk because I had all this beeping going on my end of the line. So I want to pass that along. Dial *70 before you dial the phone number.
Does that work on a cell phone?
I don't know, but it works on a Comcast line. But anyway, what I'm calling about is stockpiling food. Even the Federal Emergency Management Agency recommends keeping some certain quantities of canned foods and stuff like that in your house. One system for that is you buy up all the stuff at your grocery stores and whatnot, and then go through it once a month and see what's about to expire. And if you don't want it, then donate that to the local soup kitchen that doesn't have any ties to the government.
It's a nice idea.
That way you're doing your duty to feed other people. And the reason the soup kitchens would want to pass this along, obviously, if it's about to the food is good way past its expiration date, of course.
Yeah.
But they want it unexpired. And when you do this, two things happen. They get the stuff that was about to expire that they can feed people with. And secondly, that if you've got all this stockpile, a year's supply of food, and you lose your job, you don't go hiking all the way down to the soup kitchen to get whatever brands happen to be donated. You stay home and eat your favorite fruits and favorite brands of favorite canned fruits that you bought yourself. So that reduces the strain on the local soup kitchens. What they need is a database where you're bringing in all this stuff that's about to expire, but it's still good, and you want the tax write-off, so they scan it all in, read the barcodes, and come up with some price, some fair market price. Maybe the supermarket chains would let them tap into their price database. That way, because their house brands would sell better. There's one more reason to buy from that supermarket is when you donate it to the soup kitchen, they can beep the barcode and give you a receipt that shows the actual price, and then you save that for your tax purposes.
I like it. Tom, good call. Thanks for the suggestion tonight. It's funny, Mark, you had joked, but when I told you Tom was on the line, sometimes he's got some not so nice calls that he makes to the show. You joked, I bet this will be uplifting. It actually was an uplifting call.
It was incredibly uplifting.
From Tom in New Hampshire. Good suggestions there. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. There's a lot of buzz around a particular editorial piece over at the New York Times. It's actually relatively short, and apparently it appeared on the front page of said New York Times, I believe 2 days ago, so Friday's paper. End the gun epidemic in America, says the editorial board at the New York Times. All decent people, they say, feel sorrow and righteous fury about the latest slaughter of innocents in California. Law enforcement and intelligence agencies are searching for motivations, including the vital question of how the murderers might have been connected to international terrorism. That is right and proper, they say. But motives do not matter to the dead in California, nor did they in Colorado, Oregon, South Carolina, Virginia, Connecticut, and far too many other places. The attention and anger of Americans should also be directed at the elected leaders whose job it is to help keep us safe. Blech. By the way, I don't consider politicians to be my leaders. I don't know about you.
The last thing I want to do is have the government be in charge of keeping me safe.
Yeah.
Dear God, they can't do anything right. Why would I put them in charge of keeping me and my family safe?
But they place a higher premium, says the Times, on the money and power of an industry dedicated to profiting from the unfettered spread of ever more powerful firearms. It's a moral outrage, they claim, and a national disgrace that civilians can legally, that's you and me, can legally purchase weapons designed specifically to kill people with brutal speed and efficiency. These are weapons of war, barely modified and deliberately marketed as tools of macho vigilantism. And
people do hunt with many of these weapons. I mean, the idea that they're designed I don't know if they're designed to kill people, but they certainly can be used to hunt food.
Let's see here. It says America's elected leaders offer prayers for the gun victims and then callously and without fear of consequence reject the most basic restrictions on weapons of mass killing, as they did on Thursday. They distract us with arguments about the word terrorism. Let's be clear, these spree killings are all in their own ways acts of terrorism. Opponents of gun control are saying, as they do after every killing, that no law can unfailingly forestall a specific criminal. That is true. They are talking, many with sincerity, about the constitutional challenges to effective gun regulation. Those challenges exist. They point out that determined killers obtained weapons illegally in places like France, England, and Norway that have strict gun laws. Yes, they did. But at least those countries are trying. The United States is not. Worse, politicians abet would-be killers by creating gun markets for them. And voters allow those politicians to keep their jobs. It's past time to stop talking about halting the spread of firearms and instead to reduce their number drastically, eliminating some large categories of weapons and ammunition.
We don't like black weapons.
Now, how do you do that? Because this is a very short editorial piece. They're not going to get into details on exactly how they plan on getting rid of those weapons. They just say here that certain kinds of weapons, like the slightly modified combat rifles used in California and certain kinds of ammunition, must be outlawed for civilian ownership.
First you will outlaw them, then you will send around people that have these slightly modified weapons of war to people's houses to make sure that they don't have other slightly modified weapons of war, and they'll have to go house to house looking for them. Or if for whatever reason somebody uses one of these modified weapons of war to protect their home or their property or themselves or their family, then you can arrest them and throw them in prison when they use it legitimately. That's
so
basically
house-to-house searches would be.
You asked me what I thought that they'd have to do, and you take all these police officers that say that they're against gun confiscations. You just send them around to do gun confiscations,
and they'll do it.
And they do it.
Most of them will.
Yeah, most of them will. So a lot of them will say they won't, but you know, when you're talking about the mortgage, the paycheck, the pension,
college kids
the retirement, all these things, that's what you signed up for. You signed up to be the muscle for the government. And when the government says this is what we're going to do, this is what they're going to do. That's what the police in Great Britain do. That's what the police in Australia do. Are you better than those police?
It's not necessary, say the editors at the New York Times, to debate the peculiar wording of the Second Amendment. No right is unlimited and immune from reasonable regulation.
No right is unlimited and immune from regulation.
Reasonable regulation.
Yeah. This jackass decides what is reasonable.
There are several, actually. This is the editorial board.
I'm sorry. This group of jackasses decide what is reasonable. They do. They decide what's reasonable is. Now, I've never heard democracy described as reasonable. It's not rational. Reason comes from the root word of reason, right? Do you consider the vast majority of people out there to be reasonable? Is that what you guys think? Because I don't. When I think of the average person, I think, not particularly well informed, not particularly capable of making a decision, not really good at philosophy. And then I know that when I talk about the average person, that half of people are below that.
What better time, they say, than during a presidential election to show at long last that our nation has retained its sense of decency. Now, in my opinion, it is not decent at all to come to someone's home, come to your neighbor's home, let's say you, coming to your neighbor's home and threatening them. I think that is the definition of indecent. It is not decent to threaten your neighbors who have not done anything to harm you. To threaten them and say, you will either hand over all of the guns in this home that meet this description, whatever arbitrary, guidelines that they come up with, you will hand over every single gun in this home, or you will go to prison. And if you don't go to prison voluntarily, then we will force you to go to prison, in that we will physically manhandle you, break whatever bones we need to, or kill you if we have to, if you present any sort of resistance to us taking whatever it is that we want from you. That is very indecent. Your thoughts are welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Are millennials useless? We'll look at that coming up on Free Talk Live. Currency is too important a thing to be left in the hands of government bureaucrats, especially when billions of dollars can be created with the swipe of a pen. Overstock.com supports the cryptocurrency movement because it returns the power of an inflation-proof form of money to the people, where it belongs. Did you know that you can use Bitcoin to pay for anything Overstock.com sells while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more? If you support freedom and the cryptocurrency movement, you should support Overstock.com.
Are your kids spending too much time online? Are they gaming instead of doing homework? Are they on Facebook instead of sleeping? Turn their internet access on or off when you want for free at webcurfew.com. 100% web-based interface means nothing to download, install, or configure. Web Curfew is free and controls any device using your home network without slowing down your internet. Block all adult web content with the click of a button. Don't let the internet raise your kids. Take back control of how and when your home internet is used for free. Visit webcurfew.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. It's Friday and metals are rocking. Gold is up $19 at $1,074 per ounce. Silver is 21 cents higher at $14.38 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $360 US. We still have plenty of 2015 US Mint silver and gold eagle coins available. Get yours today. Give Robertson Roberts a call at 800-874-9760 or shop online at rrbi.co.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Sunday, December 6, 2015. Silver is trading at $14.56 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,086 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $392. Antiwar.com reports Saudi Arabia has announced that it will form a fact-finding committee to investigate Thursday's bombing of a Doctors Without Borders hospital in Yemen, a strike which wounded 9 people and destroyed the site. Though Saudi investigations don't have any better track record than most military's internal investigations, the move is still a surprise shift, as previously the Saudi government has responded to massive civilian casualties in airstrikes with blanket denials. The Saudi airstrikes against Yemen have killed thousands over the past 9 months, and the war shows no sign of a resolution anytime soon. The U.S. backing of the Saudi strikes has only added to concerns about the humanitarian nightmare they are causing. Saudi officials seem likely to remain defiant even after announcing an investigation into the attacks on the Doctors Without Borders site, issuing a separate statement warning aid agencies need to remain away from the places where the Houthi militias are present. Since this means most of Yemen, it suggests the reckless strikes will continue. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Bitcoin Not Bombs. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. UPI reports a Canadian man was arrested Friday in Thailand as an alleged senior advisor to the creator of the Silk Road, an online black market. Roger Thomas Clark is pending extradition to the United States on narcotic and money laundering charges for his alleged role in helping Ross Ulbricht create Silk Road, which allowed anonymous users to buy illegal goods and services with Bitcoin. Ulbricht was sentenced in May to life in prison for running the site. The U.S. Attorney's Office said Clark, who went went by the online monikers Variety Jones, VJ, Simon, and plural of Mongoose, advised Ulbricht and was considered his trusted mentor. Federal prosecutors said Clark was paid at least hundreds of thousands of dollars to help Ulbricht improve and expand the website's technical infrastructure, create and enforce the site's rules, and skirt law enforcement investigations. Federal prosecutors said, in that vein, Clark repeatedly advocated the use of intimidation and violence to keep members of the Silk Road support staff from cooperating with law enforcement. The arrest is the latest in a string of incidents related to the sprawling Silk Road criminal case that began in 2013. In July of this year, former DEA agent Carl Force pled guilty to stealing $200,000 in Bitcoin during the government's investigation of Silk Road. In September, U.S. Secret Service agent Sean Bridges pled guilty to money laundering in connection to the theft of $820,000 in Bitcoin related to the Silk Road investigation. Clark could face a maximum of life in prison if convicted on the narcotics charges and 20 years if convicted of money laundering. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Jerry Falwell Jr., president of Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, is encouraging students to carry concealed weapons on campus for protection, according to a local newspaper. Falwell made his remarks at the school's weekly convocation on Friday night, according to the News and Advance in Lynchburg. The comments came 2 days after a shooting in San Bernardino, California that left 14 people dead, and in the wake of other shooting sprees in the United States, including some on college campuses. Falwell said, "It just blows my mind when I see the President of the United States say that the answer to circumstances like this is more gun control." Falwell Jr. urged students to take free classes offered by the university's police department to obtain a concealed weapons permit. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Now Facebook is rolling out their newest feature, LifePoint, which analyzes users' histories to determine exactly when things went wrong. The new feature combs through photos, status updates, likes, everything that you put on Facebook in order to pinpoint how someone irreparably ruined their life. For example, it might highlight your friend's spring break trip in 2003 when she took her first shot, or your cousin's engagement to a guy named Scott spelled with a K.
So, Facebook must have a lot of depressing information to work with.
Well, we look for sadness indicators, positive versus negative adjectives and status updates, whether you've liked a corporate entity such as Walmart or Arby's.
One of LifePoint's most buzzed about features is the Life Compare function, which lets you see how your mistakes stack up to others.
Here, I'm overlaying my graph with a graph of a childhood friend. You can see his life ended up much worse than mine, which is great.
Anything with a profile has a LifePoint, so you can look forward to finding out when your favorite bands, TV shows, and companies started going downhill.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and you're invited to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Whether you want to discuss the New York Times in a front-page editorial, which they say, actually, that they have not done since the 1920s, or since 1920, that is, put a editorial on their front page, arguing that there need to be more gun control. There needs to be more restrictions. You citizens, you people, you shouldn't be able to own these kind of guns like were used in California this past week. And they want the government to do something about it, which, of course, as Mark suggested, would likely mean door-to-door, house-to-house searches for these kinds of weapons in order to have any kind of effect at actually doing something about getting them off the streets, which, of course, wouldn't actually do that, given that there are places in countries where there are more severe gun restrictions, like France, and there are, of course, still criminals who have access to things like that. So, that's what they put out there. You're welcome to respond to it. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We've also got Skype. Skype username is lrn.fm. Coming up, Mark, you're going to be telling us about millennials and is it a study that finds that obviously this is a general statement, that millennials are more useless than previous generations.
That's the claim.
All right, we'll get into that. First, we've got Wiz Khalifa on the line in California. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, I was just calling you guys because I just got done watching a 60-minute special that was just on TV about college CIs, informants for the police in Ole Miss, and they had several kids recently that one kid killed himself supposedly because he was selling weed and he got caught, and they used him to get 10 other people caught, and he ended up he decided to take his own life, I guess.
Wow.
His parents say that they don't think he did, but it kind of looks like that was the case. But anyway,
no, wait, are you specifically saying these are college-age informants, or did you misspeak when you said college earlier?
No, they're kids. They're kids in college at Ole Miss, and there's
Old
a whole
Miss. What's that?
There's
University.
Yeah, it's a university.
Mississippi,
right?
Yes, it's in Mississippi.
I don't even know. I've heard of it before, though.
Okay, so
But
specifically
anyway,
focusing on informants at one school. Got it. Go ahead.
well, just after watching it, and I went on CBS. They had like the CBS 60 Minutes overtime, and there was one kid that said no, and he wouldn't do it, and he ended up getting like 2 months of probation or something. It was just something very minimal.
Really?
But they told him basically his life would be over if he didn't cooperate and do what they wanted him to do. And, it just makes me, I've got 2 kids of my own. So it really makes me realize, as soon as I got done watching it, I told my son, I was like, if you ever get stopped by the police, they're not your friend. Don't tell them anything. Tell them you want to talk to an attorney or you want to talk to your parents, whatever. Don't tell them anything.
It's good advice.
Yeah, they might be useful if you're, say, lost and you need some directions and you go to them.
Even then, I've seen them be rude.
No, I've seen that, but I think it's less likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't tell them anything. If the only time you ever need to talk to them is if they pull you over, be halfway polite so that you don't get a ticket. But at the end of the day, they're not going to help you. That's what I think.
Well, actually, you don't have to talk to them when you get pulled over, and whether you do, you don't, may or may not have an effect on whether or not you can get a ticket. I know there are some people out there who believe they are very, very good at sort of manipulating the police by crying or just joking with them or something like that. And if you've got a system, by all means, work your system. But I think a general thing is that you should not talk to the police at a stop. If you want to, you can give them your name, but you don't even have to do that. All you really have to do, now this isn't legal advice, it's just my understanding of the way things are in the United States at least, is that when you're pulled over, you're only obligated to provide them with your license, registration, and if you're in a state that requires insurance, proof of insurance. And that's it. So if a cop pulls you over and you don't want to talk to him, like if you want to try out this whole not talking to police thing, that's actually a time at which that it can be, a lower risk encounter. Sure, they can still pull you from the car, beat you, smash your camera on the pavement. You never know you never know which kind of cop you're dealing with, but relatively safe to just quietly hand the officer the required paperwork and then just stare at them or just look forward.
I haven't honestly actually been listening to the show, but I'm watching on the live cam right now, and I'm wondering why Ian is wearing green.
We'll tell you. Ian is one of Santa's little helpers. He's got on his elf sweater.
Does that make you Santa, Mark?
I'm not wearing red.
No. It's Tipsy Elves, actually, since you asked, Wiz Khalifa. It is a new sponsor of Free Talk Live.
With the ugly sweaters.
Yes,
I've heard about
you
them.
got it. Yeah, very, very ugly sweaters.
Ugly enough that you commented on it, pal.
Yeah, and we didn't coordinate tonight. I just felt like putting it on because it's been a little while since I worn mine, a few days.
They are warm.
Yeah, I was a little chilly. Actually, that was my motivation for putting it on because they're pretty good sweaters. And there's all kinds of there's way uglier sweaters than this one on their site. Like even more garish, if you can believe it.
They're more garish, but nothing more dorky than the one you've got on, pal.
I can own dorky. That's okay. TipsyElves.com. Go there. You'll get 20% off. And Wiz, thanks for your call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. They're super ugly, and they're great for any Christmas event or Christmas party or just going to work and being the talk of The Office.
Well,
that kind
look,
of thing.
he's seeing you on the cam, decides to comment on a national radio
That's
show
true.
about it. And we
didn't put him up to that.
This is a way to get conversation going. Consider this. What if you're at the Christmas party and some pretty girl, you want to have a conversation with her, and she decides, oh, look, an ugly sweater. Maybe I'll comment on it. She's not going to think that you take yourself too seriously if you've got, I don't know, Santa's helper on, or the Jesus birthday boy one that I've got.
Yeah,
or,
that one's funny.
Daryl's, the one with the humping reindeer on it. I mean, she's going to realize, hey, this is a fun-loving guy.
That's a good idea there, Mark. Go to tipsyelves.com, use code FTL at checkout, and you'll get 20% off site-wide. So they don't just have the ugly sweaters, they also have other products as well, including onesies. So
it's true.
You can get onesies there. They also have a lot of collegiate logo stuff. So if you like colleges, we were just talking about Miss U or whatever that was.
Old Miss.
You Miss, Old Miss.
Right. You Miss. Indeed.
You know what the college is that you're into if you're into that stuff, and they've probably got the logo on something. So tipsyelves.com, code FTL for that 20% off. Nick is in South Carolina listening to WTMA in Charleston. Hey, Nick.
Hey.
Hey.
Don't liberal policies prevent repeated revolutions where, they don't need to happen constantly? One historical revolution's nice, but if we have to have a revolution every 5 or 10 years, don't liberal policies sort of just prevent that from having to happen?
What's a liberal policy? Give me an example.
Can you give me an example of this happening?
Well, like income redistribution.
One of the things I think about that when I think to myself is that it's pretty desperate of a group of people to point out, hey, those people have more money than us if everybody's getting richer. If so, for instance, let's say Donald Trump gets, for every $100 out there, I make $1 extra per year. He makes $100 extra per year. Pretty quickly, he's going to be a lot wealthier than I am. But I'm still better off every single year, And for the richest people in the world, in one of the richest countries in the world, to say, oh, look, there's richer people than we are, seems really, I don't know, selfish to me.
Isn't that the fear behind those policies?
So I think that fear is behind that policies.
Revolution.
I think that fear is behind those policies, but I doubt that it's going to happen in a wealthy nation like this. I have yet to see the underpinnings of a revolution in the United States. Do you see any?
Well, isn't that what this agitation's all about? The mass shootings, the gun violence. There's always going to be the canary in the coal mine, and I think that's what's happening.
I don't know. I mean,
the guy in the person who was the primary shooter in San Bernardino worked for the government.
The guy that was the primary shooter in the Colorado abortion clinic shooting was conservative.
Well, social unrest in general, that's what the liberal policies are, I think, designed to quell.
I think that there is some argument for that.
Thanks, Nick, for your call here tonight. Would when King George was taxing tea at, 1% or something like that, was that a liberal policy?
Those are just people that wanted to be free.
It's Free Talk Live, 855-450 free. You can take control of the airwaves here.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
My name is Bill Bonner, and I have an important message. Right now, the highest levels of government are struggling against an inevitable crisis, but they're about to lose control. When this happens, it will rip our country apart in ways you never imagined. From where we shop to the family you want to protect. Look, I've made predictions like this before. A few years ago, I warned that the housing prices would collapse. Before that, I warned that .com companies would crash, and they did. Those who listened had a chance to save themselves. But this has nothing to do with the stock market. This will affect us all. I've posted a free video at disappearingwealth.com. Maybe you'll disagree with my conclusions, but first you need to watch this video and see the facts for yourself. You can watch the video for free right now by going to disappearingwealth.com. Again, that's disappearingwealth.com.
Do you know the difference between erudite and pedantic? If you do, you're probably pedantic. But seriously, a surprising number of erudite people mispronounce erudite, which has 3 syllables, not 4. Say erudite, not erudite. Because you are judged by how you speak, you want to avoid common misstatements, especially if you're a job seeker. For instance, do you know the difference between imply and infer? Only a speaker can imply. Only a listener can infer. And when you say you'll be out of pocket, do you mean out of touch? Out of pocket means you're on your own dime, not yet reimbursed. And if anyone ever asks, why do you always answer a question with a question? You should reply, do I do that? Just kidding. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
There comes a time when you need custom embroidered or screen printed apparel for your business, organization, or a special event. Corporate Casuals has been helping people create great looking logoed apparel for over 25 years. They can produce a single piece or thousands using name brand apparel like Nike, Patagonia, Adidas, and Hanes. Create your logo in their online embroidery design studio or upload your existing logo and they'll turn it into embroidery. Go to corporatecasuals.com/FTL and include FTL in the order notes and save 5% on your order.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You can join us here toll free. It is the live Sunday edition. Coming up, millennials, are they more useless in general than previous generations? Mark has that story, and you can join us online anytime you want over at freetalklive.com. Do you miss an episode? No problem. Just go and grab it. It's free. In fact, the entire website is free, unlike a lot of those talk show hosts that want to charge you for accessing their sites. Ours, just go see it for yourself. freetalklive.com. There's a bookmark that I've seen you carrying about. I have yet to have a chance to start it myself, but I love the topic, immigration. It is much needed, this information in the book. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's David Hathaway's, his new book, Immigration, The Individual versus National Borders, and it takes apart arguments made by Austrian economists like Hoppe and Rothbard, who adopted in their writings a position against open borders, a position that many libertarians take. And so he's taken apart these arguments against open borders while supporting the position that an individual property owner has the absolute right to exclude or invite anyone onto their property. You'll often hear people say things like, oh, well, you know, you want to let immigrants in? Well, what if they just moved into your living room? He's rebutting that particular point of view. You can get a copy of Immigration, Individual versus National Borders through Amazon and get it either its print or Kindle form. It's Immigration, Individual versus National Borders by David Hathaway.
All right, our toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733, to the phones, and in this case to Skype, where Nathan in Texas is on the line. Hello, Nathan.
Hey guys. So you had an interesting guy in the first hour talking about liberals versus conservatives, and just on a side note, that Rousseau is sort of a slimeball. If you read his personal life, he had like 5 kids and gave them all to orphanages. So he's a thoroughly disreputable fellow, in addition to also having some weird ideas.
Yeah,
but
one of the thing about old writers is there just weren't that many literate people back then. So the suggestion that because somebody is old, they have a good philosophy, really not so great.
And he talked about one of the issues that came up was whether conservatives and liberals exist and to what extent ideology exists. And Mark, if you're interested in this kind of thing, there's a researcher named John Jost who wrote a really good paper about this. Basically, just exploring all these intricacies of, well, are there liberals and conservatives, and if so, how do they vote, and what changes their opinions on things, and this sort of thing. And it's called the end of ideology, because apparently in that 1950s period you were talking about, there were a lot of people that thought, well, now World War II is over, ideology is over, and I guess that the 1950s will go on forever or something. But so his work seems, and I haven't read a lot of it, just this one paper, but a lot of his work focuses around, does ideology exist? And, he'll say things like, well, conservative favors tradition over, change or new experiences, or conservatives will favor economic inequality, and he's got lots of tables and charts and things like that. So I think you'd find that really interesting.
John Jost.
Yes, John Jost, the end of ideology.
Got it.
Thanks, Nathan, for your call tonight. Millennials. Oh, Mark, go ahead.
Well, I was just in response to that. One thing that I find interesting is when you talk to people, the idea that this form of government that we have today is the end-all, be-all of governments. It's like they can't see down the line. Can you try to predict for me? I'd love somebody to call in and try to predict what government's going to look like in 100 years. Because I don't know the answer to that question. But I suspect there'll be more human freedom. Now with the internet, everybody's got a voice. People use the term democratic. The internet is democratic. The internet isn't democratic. It's individualistic.
Yeah, you don't get to decide what happens to my website by a vote.
Right. And, you don't decide what's on my Facebook page, what I post on there.
Facebook can decide.
Facebook does get to decide.
It's not a good example of private property.
It's not a good. I'm not claiming it's a good example of private property. I said it was individualistic.
I see.
Facebook does let you to be largely individualistic on your page.
Well, generally the reason why the internet is individualist is because it's private property, because you own your website. And that's why Facebook's not a good example, because Facebook can change the rules and pull the carpet out from under you anytime they want to. Of course, there's also terms of service with a lot of the service providers that host websites out there, but you could also, you can host yours outside of the country if you want to get around some of those rules. So there's a lot more freedom on the internet, and that's because of private property, not democratic choice or whatever.
Well, I tend to agree. Let's go on to this study regarding millennials.
Where's it coming from, the study?
The ETS study is what it's called. ETS is that's what it's called.
Is that like the Pew Research Group? Is it the group that did the study, ETS?
I'm sorry, buddy. I don't know. It's at ets.org.
So that's the website.
Yeah.
Got it.
You go there. It's educational testing services.
Got it.
Yeah, from the Program for International Assessment of Adult Competencies is what this is from. And now the article I got was from Bro Bible, which sounds a lot less reputable. But I did go and check. I just like the way they wrote it out a lot better than the ETS study. So anyway, they tested individuals aged 16 to 65 across 23 countries to measure literacy, numeracity, and problem solving in a technology-rich environment. So they tested lots of people in lots of age groups. Got it? Okay. Across the board, American millennials scored terribly, they say feeble, wet fart, on the competency scale when compared with their foreign counterparts. Long thought to be the most technologically savvy and educated generation in history, American millennials aged 16 to 34.
So this is American millennials, not millennials globally.
It does not. This article does not
They tested American millennials against other millennials as well as other age groups.
Right. They're just looking at competencies in these areas. And you've heard it over and over again that kids know computers. Apparently, kids know Instagram and Candy Crush.
Okay.
They don't know computers necessarily.
All right.
So here we go. People aged 16 to 34 just can't hack it when it comes to skills employers are looking for. Japan crushed it. But there's no indication as to whether or not Japanese's cultural infatuation with tentacle porn has any bearing on workplace competency.
Here are some of the
creepy. Yeah, it is.
You've seen it, huh? Okay.
I have. Yeah, I've seen pictures. I'm not happy about it. Here's some key findings from the study. And so these are bullet points. You got to absorb them as I give them to you. 1, in literacy, U.S. millennials scored lower than 15 of the 22 participating countries. Now, they're not checking people in Botswana, okay? They're not out
These are
there
developed countries.
beating the bushes in the Amazon looking for millennials. These are in developed countries and testing, I don't know, where the competition is on a global scale.
So 15 out of 22 were countries, millennials were higher scoring than American millennials.
In literacy. Literacy specifically.
Not literacy regarding technology, but just literacy across.
Right. The United States, who spends more per student than any other country in the world, fails. Here we go.
So maybe
14 countries, 14 developed countries beat us out.
That puts them in like the bottom 33% then.
Well, actually, when you go into the study, you'll find out the U.S. Comes in dead last. There are some ties. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get into that here a little bit. 855-450 free, and then more about American millennials from the Pew Research, folks.
Government school sucks, and it ain't getting better, folks.
Well, maybe they need more money, Mark.
No, that's the problem.
It's Free Talk Live. You can share your thoughts with us.
By now you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Block-It Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. BlockItPocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at BlockItPocket.com or call 888-315-9618. BlockItPocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
Are your Google search results killing you? Unflattering content in blogs, news articles, online reviews, social media, or other sources can jeopardize your reputation, your business, and your livelihood. Let Reputation.com help. Our patented technology will make the truth about you more visible while pushing down unwanted negative content. Improve your Google search results. Call Reputation.com at 1-800-831-0771 for a free consultation. That's 800-831-0771.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Helen.
About almost 3 decades ago this fall, little creatures appeared in my consciousness.
Little creatures?
They introduced themselves to me as Matilda and Mumford Rabbit.
Huh.
They come from a higher planet, more spiritually evolved. Matilda Rabbit has a habit of using God's gift of free speech. Matilda Rabbit has the habit of snoring in her sleep, but not before she does implore the Lord her soul to keep.
Is it the same God?
Oh, yeah. Jesus is their word and way on all planes.
Why would they care about Jesus? They don't even live on this planet.
Right. How would they even know? Because Jesus was on our earth, right?
Well, Jesus is not on this planet alone. He's everywhere.
Did he die on a cross in outside of Jerusalem and the other planets too?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Cryptocurrency and peer-to-peer tech developments happen fast. Stay in the loop with the Daily Decrypt, a new video channel and podcast that will keep you on top of the latest innovations in crypto finance, security, networking, transportation, and gadgetry like drones and 3D printers. Subscribe to the Daily Decrypt on YouTube and SoundCloud and be an early adopter of the future. The Daily Decrypt.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this hospital.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Whoa. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live, and it's the live Sunday edition. Our toll-free number allowing you to join us here on the radio waves is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. The Tiger Light is back on Free Talk Live with a new device, Mark.
Yeah, this is the Dad. It works a lot like the original T100 that they had. It's a flashlight with a built-in pepper spray. Really awesome pepper spray, too. Not the little spritzer that you might buy at the convenience store or something for $10 or whatever. This thing will shoot 15 feet. They actually did what the reports are of the use of the Tiger Light is over and over again they noticed that law enforcement reported dropped like shot. They would say that the person fell to the ground as though they had been shot by this pepper spray because it just operates so differently than other pepper sprays. And I think that that's really important. And Michael Tighe, the creator of Tiger Light, wants that stressed. And I think he's right to want that. It also has integrated the Crowd Alert technology. It's a GPS Crowd Alert technology built in with Bluetooth. So go check it out at tigerlight.net if you want to know more about the DAD system. It's awesome. It's a lightweight, water-resistant, and durable thanks to its polycarbonate housing. You can get one for free. This is a $130 item. You can get it for free simply by going to demo.freetalklive.com, filling out the demographic survey that we have there, and giving us your email address. That's part of the survey. You don't have to give it, but then you won't win. There's no chance of winning the contest. Another part about it is we give things away all the time for the demographic survey. And you'll always be entered once you go there and fill this out.
You only have to enter once. That's all we ever want you to do.
Yeah, we don't want you to enter more than once. If you have, you're not helping yourself in any way. So go there. It's demo.freetalklive.com.
All right, back to the millennials here in a moment, Mark. You've got more from the study that tested millennials against other millennials, so American millennials versus other millennials around the rest of the world.
And
also,
other age groups.
People as old as age 65 on various different academic accuracy or whatever abilities. Let's go first, though, to John in Nevada. You're on Free Talk Live on the Live Sunday show. Hello, John.
Hi, guys.
Hey there.
In the wake of the San Bernardino shootings, I'm seeing something very interesting. I'm getting to see the arguments for anti-guns from the Democrats and anti-immigration from the Republicans side by side over the exact same incident. So 12 people were killed in San Bernardino, and from the New York Times point of view, that means we have to get rid of all assault weapons, even though there's only 284 murders by rifle in a year, and there's twice as many people get killed with the murderer's bare hand.
Yeah.
But that's the solution to the problem from the point of view of the New York Times. And from the Republicans, the solution is, well, we have to stop immigrants from coming in, even though there's millions of immigrants who want to come here, and almost all of them are totally peaceful. Very few of them are violent.
Mm-hmm.
We have to violate the rights of millions of people to stop, a problem that is really very small. Of course, it was a horrible thing that happened in San Bernardino, but on a national scale, this is a drop in the bucket of the murders that happen in America anyway.
So the response from both sides is we need more state to
Right.
solve
This
the
is
problems.
I'm frustrated with a news story. I don't like seeing these news stories that are being sent my way, so we need new laws. Rather than looking at sort of statistics, rather than looking at what might actually help people, I'm going to react to the stuff that I'm being told. That's really what you're saying?
Right. And I'm going to violate the rights of millions of people, and I'm going to set their costs at nothing. I'm not going to count their costs as anything. I don't attribute any cost to immigrants who are living in dire poverty because they can't come here. I'm not going to attribute any cost to people who can't defend themselves because they denied a weapon. We don't count that. Instead, we just say no. We can violate as many rights as we want to solve what is really a very low level threat.
Well, the New York Times says that there's no right that's absolute, and they are all subject to reasonable restriction, which, of course, is a direct contradiction to the idea of a right in the first place.
Well, there was a great response to that in Reason magazine by writer Brian Doherty, who pointed out that it really is, they're planning on spending tons and tons of money on putting America in a state of really kind of political civil war, since there is so much resistance to what the New York Times wants, and they want to do all that for when rifles are only used to commit 284 murders a year here, which is 2% of all murders. It makes no sense whatsoever what they would set this at this kind of a priority.
Don't you think that the mass shootings would go down if they outlawed handguns? I mean, or outlawed guns generally, and they have done this in other places, and they generally don't have the mass shootings quite as much. What I feel like the cost is that handguns are used 18 times for every crime they have out there for handguns. 18 times it's used in defense is the idea. I think is I'd have to look at the statistics to be able to say that properly.
Life.
Yeah, but handguns are far more often used to protect life than they are, to do something else. They give equality to people who don't otherwise have it. They allow you to fight back against somebody you could not fight back against otherwise. And that's what the real value is to guns. And yeah, there's some really terrible things that happen with rifles out there. But if you want to take away guns, you got to take away people's ability to defend themselves at the same time.
Well, there are some terrible things that happen with rifles, but of course, the overwhelming majority of murders committed with guns in America are committed with handguns. So there's far more with handguns. But, as you say, handguns are more, they are more often used as a defensive weapon, and that's true. I think that you would have to show a much greater benefit to justify taking guns away from people, because it is a legitimate right of an individual to be able to defend themselves. And you can't just base your gun ban on the fact that we think there would be less mass shootings, because that's just too flimsy. And when I look at the statistics, a lot of the statistics I hear about mass shootings in America, as compared with other countries, well, I'm seeing now that when you compare America to Europe as a whole, that it's pretty much on an even basis. They get just about as many mass shootings as we do with far stricter gun laws.
John, thanks for your call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to Jeff in Illinois. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, guys.
Hey there.
So the New York Times, they're saying that rights should be limited, right? That rights should be limited, like the First Amendment that they're using to attack the Second Amendment. Like their right to use the First Amendment, they're aiming the First Amendment at the Second Amendment.
Yeah, they said that basically that rights are not absolute and they can be reasonably regulated.
So they could be regulated in the same way then.
Sure they could. I'm sure they would protest vehemently if the government were coming after their freedom of speech, of course, because that's the right that's important to them.
Exactly. They just want to pick and choose which ones to sort of a cafeteria.
And that's going to result in having no rights, because if you don't stand up for the rights of other people when the time is, when the government's coming after them, then you can't expect those people to stand up for your rights when the government finally decides to come after you.
Right. If you speak out against civilian ownership of firearms, then you're using your right to freedom of speech. It's hilarious that people want their First Amendment right to be able to speak out against other people's Second Amendment rights.
Also, this is a different subject. You were talking about millennials. All my nephews are basically millennials, and they're all married and have good jobs. I think like one's a teacher, one's in the Air Force, and one's works for a railroad. But I mean, they all have kind of skilled jobs and stuff.
Thanks, Jeff, for your call tonight. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't think it's to suggest that all millennials are incompetent. I mean, that's not what this study is saying. It's just ranking American millennials versus other millennials around the world.
And it's ominous.
And it doesn't look good. The overall numbers, we'll get into some of the details on it here. 855-450-FREE. That's our toll-free number, 855-450-3733. Maybe you are a millennial and you've got some comments. Free Talk Live.
All right, listen up, because this is the most important thing you're going to hear all day. What if I said you could make money flipping houses without any cash, credit, or manual labor? And what if I said you could do it part-time from the comfort of your home? Sound unflippin' believable? Hi, I'm Preston Ely, and I'm going to prove it by sending you a free copy of my smash hit-selling book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate. It sells online for $19.95, but I'm giving away 5,000 free copies this week. To get one before they're gone, call 1-800-961-8439. I used to be so broke, I had my electricity shut off 9 times, but I figured out a simple way to make money flipping houses without even breaking a sweat. Now I'm living the good life, and so should you. Listen, if you're sick and tired of stressing about money, this book could change your life. Hands down, it's the fastest, easiest way to get started in real estate. Let me prove it. Call right now to find out how to get your free book. When they're gone, they're gone. Call 1-800-961-8439. 1-800-961-8439.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for under $30,000. You heard right. That's 5,000 square feet under $30,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100 foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait.
Call 800-917-8251. 800-917-8251. 800-917-8251.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the new Healing Our World is a great gift this Christmas for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live, Live Sunday edition. We got time for you, plenty of it. In fact, you can dial in toll-free to join us here. Bring up anything you want. It doesn't have to be about gun control or the Millenials. But that is what we're discussing right now, specifically millennials, and a study that, Mark, you just barely begun to tell us about a few moments ago regarding American millennials, specifically comparing them to other people in other age demographics, and also American millennials comparing them to millennials around the globe, and finding that the results are less than stellar. We're going to get into more of that here. Also, want to invite you to our website at freetalklive.com. Please go enjoy the features. It's all free. You can download as many episodes as you want. You can watch the cam, chat in the chat room, submit content right to the front page. It's all free. But if you want to help support the show, then please do that by becoming a Free Talk Live amplifier today. You can do it with Bitcoin. We had a new Bitcoin sign up this week, in fact. And Bitcoin actually allows you to sign up anonymously if you choose. You don't have to fill out billing info because it's Bitcoin. You don't need that stuff when you do a Bitcoin transaction. Now, of course, you can still do it the old-fashioned way with PayPal through any major credit card or Visa and MasterCard right through our website. So we got credit card, we got PayPal, we got Bitcoin. Those are pretty much the only... those are the best ways to support anybody these days, and you can do that through the AMP program and get perks for yourself, like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, AMP-only podcast, and the AMP-only Facebook group, which is a super cool thing. So that allows you to interact with other amplifiers and hosts of the show. Go to amp.freetalklive.com. AMP, it stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It's the way you can help Free Talk Live get on more radio stations to spread the ideas of liberty as far and as wide as possible. So please, amp the show, get the perks. Go to amp.freetalklive.com and do that as soon as possible. I sure do appreciate it. It's amp.freetalklive.com.
Yeah, in the last segment, I kind of ham-fistedly ran through some numbers that I kind of remembered about handguns, and I do have the quote, the citation here from a 2010 CDC report, cdc.gov, whatever, just a long URL there, that handguns are used 80 times more often to protect a life than to take one.
80 times.
80 times.
In America.
Yeah, in the United States, as self-defense as opposed to homicide, accident, and suicide. Accident and suicide are included in that number. So when people are telling you, people died because of guns, many times they're including people that accidentally got shot, and people that got drunk and decided to end their lives, or anybody who decides to end their life for whatever reason, and they use a gun to do it. I feel that is incredibly disingenuous. Yes, you're responsible for keeping your gun safe in your house, and then sometimes people are going to feel low and they're going to kill themselves, but they can kill themselves a variety of ways. The fact that they choose to use a gun does not mean necessarily guns are bad. So just watch out for the big fat liars out there. They're on both sides. Anyway,
so back to the millennials. You were telling us that they looked at millennials' ability to use technology in certain ways. Is that right?
Well, this is just a study generally. Let me read it to you. In literacy, U.S. millennials scored lower than 15 out of the 22. So they came in 16th. Only millennials in Spain and Italy. There was a lot of ties in this, by the way. A lot of ties for last.
Okay.
But only millennials in Spain and Italy had lower scores in literacy.
So even though they were 16th out of 20-something, they were like 16th tied with a bunch or something like that?
That
Gotcha.
sort of thing.
Okay.
In numeracity, that's the ability to apply math to everyday situations. I'm not sure how good I would be with that, but I don't know. We'd see. U.S. millennials ranked last, along with Italy and Spain again.
Okay.
By the way, Italy and Spain known as the sluggards of Europe. Sorry to say.
I didn't know that.
And just busy partying instead of working. And in problem-solving in technology-rich environments. This is a skill set that they refer to often in here, the PSTREs. Problem-solving in a technology-rich environment. U.S. millennials ranked last, along with the Slovak Republic, Ireland, and Poland. Tied for last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. Now remember, the United States spends more per student than any of these countries.
Wow. All right.
And they're continually come in last. The government school will continually say, we got to spend more money in order to be able to compete on a national scale. And they fail.
So I don't know if they go into this, but I wonder why, right? Like these other countries have government schools too.
It's true. It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. They want to succeed more. Once you get to the top, it's like, whatever. I often use this example, and I think it's a fair one. In the time of Genghis Khan, you have these people who grew up living in skin huts on the Mongol steppe. And they wanted very badly to have the riches of China and these sorts of things. So these were hardened people who grew up on horseback, and they were tough and rugged. And they managed to conquer a larger section of the swath of the world than any other group had before that. And I think arguably until the United States, maybe some British Empire or something like that. I don't know entirely. But up to that point, they certainly had. And in 3 generations, by the time Kublai Khan comes along, these are people that have grown up wearing robes of the finest silk, riches all around them, the ability to do whatever they want. And the empire falls apart in a few short generations, just falls apart. This wasn't some difficult empire to control either. This was just taking money from city-states, just collecting money, essentially. And they couldn't do that much because the drive was gone. When you see people in the United States, the success stories, as often as not, they're often immigrants who've come here from places where this is the place to come and succeed. And if they can get in, it truly is the place to come and succeed in many ways. But our children, they're busy worrying about which video games they're going to play and making sure that somebody doesn't get too much richer than, I got to go vote some equality in. So...
Well, I would like to know what you, dear listener, believe the reasoning is for this. Like, why are American millennials doing so poorly in comparison with millennials all around the globe? I mean, you can point to government education, and there are a lot of problems with government education, but that's clearly not the only answer here, because there are government schools in all of those places that we're talking about. So why is one set of government schools more effective, or one set of students less effective at learning things? That's what I'd like to know. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Does it have to do with the sort of coddling of the American students? Does that not go on in Europe? Like, for instance, the helicopter parenting. Is that a factor here, where the parents are always present and ever present, and even all the way through college, where they're hovering over them and making sure everything is going well? They're not giving them a chance to sort of succeed on their own? Or
I don't believe that for a second. I'll bet those students are some of the best, where their parents are involved. Absolutely. And I'd like to know where homeschool students compare on this, because they're not going to tell you that. I mean, I'll bet you homeschool students, are kicking all the Europeans' butt back over the Rhine, is what my guess would be.
Maybe.
And, helicopter parents, you can say what you want about them, the social skills of their kids. I suspect those kids are probably among the best educated.
I don't know about that, Mark.
The helicopter parents are the ones who are walking their kids through school in many cases.
Yeah, but they're also not letting their kids grow on their own. They're not putting them out, and they're the opposite of a free-range parent, right? The helicopter parent is this overprotective mommy that is always there for their little boy or little girl, even when they're 25 years old or whatever.
Tiger Mom's kids know how to play the piano. They know how to do math. They know how to read.
Tiger Mom?
Tiger Mom. This is this is a book that came out a few years ago.
Not familiar.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not. Popular culture isn't your thing.
Is Tiger Mom a helicopter mom?
Chinese mom who said, "You're going to play the piano, and you're going to learn to do well in school. And if you don't, hell will come down upon you in the form of a Chinese mother who will not let you do anything." Now, is that a helicopter parent? Because I think it's close.
I don't know. I don't. That's not. I don't know.
It's authoritarianism of a sort. Yeah. And look, Ian, I'm sorry to tell you, but the whole idea that free range kids just flock to computers to learn physics and
I didn't say that.
It's the impression you give that if you just release kids, that somehow they're going to learn all the really great stuff. They're going to be the best in the world. No, they're not.
That's not necessarily what free range parenting is, as I understand it.
Well, free range parenting is different than unschooling.
Free ranging, right? I was talking about free range parents versus helicopter parents. I'm just speculating here on why American students or American millennials are so poor in comparison, or poor at doing things.
Because the schools suck, Ian. That's why we have turned this over. We have disenfranchised our families, disenfranchised our kids from the learning process,
then what's different?
Turned them over to unions.
Okay, so then what's different then compared to government schools in other places? Why are those schools so much better?
Because America has been on top so long.
All right, that still doesn't satisfy me. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
You don't have to claw your way to the top? Then you don't. Then you never learn the skills to climb.
How long has it been like this? I mean, has it been a slow decline over time, or has it fallen off a cliff?
It hasn't fallen off a cliff, no.
Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Your comments on American millennials versus the world. And maybe you are a millennial. You can see it from the inside. What are we missing here? It's Free Talk Live.
Currency is too important a thing to be left in the hands of government bureaucrats, especially when billions of dollars can be created with the swipe of a pen. Overstock.com supports the cryptocurrency movement because it returns the power of an inflation-proof money to the people where it belongs. Did you know that you can use Bitcoin to pay for anything Overstock.com sells while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more? If you support freedom in the cryptocurrency movement, you should support Overstock.com.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you? Or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom. And with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock's CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal freedom and cryptocurrency. Over the past 16 years, Overstock has furnished over 18 million homes with a diverse line of products to suit everyone's unique styles and preferences. Support Overstock and freedom of choice while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Sunday, December 6th, 2015. Silver is trading at $14.56 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,086 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $392. Antiwar.com reports Saudi Arabia has announced that it will form a fact-finding committee to investigate Thursday's bombing of a Doctors Without Borders hospital in Yemen, a strike which wounded 9 people and destroyed the site. Though Saudi investigations don't have any better track record than most military's internal investigations, the move is still a surprise shift, as previously the Saudi government has responded to massive civilian casualties in airstrikes with blanket denials. The Saudi airstrikes against Yemen have killed thousands over the past 9 months, and the war shows no sign of a resolution anytime soon. The U.S. backing of the Saudi strikes has only added to concerns about the humanitarian nightmare they are causing. Saudi officials seem likely to remain defiant even after announcing an investigation into the attacks on the Doctors Without Borders site, issuing a separate statement warning aid agencies need to remain away from the places where the Houthi militias are present. Since this means most of Yemen, it suggests the reckless strikes will continue. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Bitcoin Not Bombs. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. UPI reports a Canadian man was arrested Friday in Thailand as an alleged senior advisor to the creator of the Silk Road, an online black market. Roger Thomas Clark is pending extradition to the United States on narcotic and money laundering charges for his alleged role in helping Ross Ulbricht create Silk Road, which allowed anonymous users to buy illegal goods and services with Bitcoin. Ulbricht was sentenced in May to life in prison for running the site. The U.S. Attorney's Office said Clark, who went by the online monikers Variety Jones, VJ, Simon, and plural of Mongoose, advised Ulbricht and was considered his trusted mentor. Federal prosecutors said Clark was paid at least hundreds of thousands of dollars to help Ulbricht improve and expand the website's technical infrastructure, create and enforce the site's rules, and skirt law enforcement investigations. Federal prosecutors said in that vein, Clark repeatedly advocated the use of intimidation and violence to keep members of the Silk Road support staff from cooperating with law enforcement. The arrest is the latest in a string of incidents related to the sprawling Silk Road criminal case that began in 2013. In July of this year, former DEA agent Carl Force pled guilty to stealing $200,000 in Bitcoin during the government's investigation of Silk Road. In September, U.S. Secret Service agent Sean Bridges pled guilty to money laundering in connection to the theft of $820,000 in Bitcoin related to the Silk Road investigation. Clark could face a maximum of life in prison if convicted on the narcotics charges and 20 years if convicted of money laundering. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Jerry Falwell Jr., president of Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, is encouraging students to carry concealed weapons on campus for protection, according to a local newspaper. Falwell made his remarks at the school's weekly convocation on Friday night, according to the News and Advance in Lynchburg. The comments came 2 days after a shooting in San Bernardino, California that left 14 people dead, and in the wake of other shooting sprees in the United States, including some on college campuses. Falwell said, "It just blows my mind when I see the President of the United States say that the answer to circumstances like this is more gun control." Falwell Jr. urged students to take free classes offered by the university's police department to obtain a concealed weapons permit. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The Onion looks back at This Week in History. On May 6, 1937, the explosion of the German passenger ship Hindenburg brought cheer to an entire generation of Americans in the midst of the Great Depression. The souls of the American people were fleetingly revitalized by the flame-engulfed Zeppelin and the shrill screams of burning passengers leaping to their heartwarming deaths.
Oh my, it's burst into flames. The burning embers and charred flesh are cascading splendidly onto the mooring mast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrific thing I've ever seen. Oh, the luminosity, the gaiety.
And on May 7th, 2000, Vladimir Putin became president of Russia after promising citizens he could bend anything they gave him with just his bare hands. And that was what happened this week in history. In the words of the Italian philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli, whoever wants to foresee the future must first look at the past and then imagine all that old stuff looking more future-y and space-like.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Dial toll-free to join us here. You can comment on gun control proposals, which the New York Times has been advocating for right on their front page. You can also talk about the Millenials, which we're getting into here. We discussed in the last hour, are going to continue discussing this hour, about Millennials apparently testing very poorly compared to the rest of the world, and also comparing Millennials to other age demographics as well. Mark, you've got that story. We're going to continue with it. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And I've got a related piece on Millennials in America and how they are not necessarily a fan of the idea of freedom of speech. Obviously, we're talking generally. There are clearly exceptions. A lot of Millennials do understand what freedom of speech is, but we're just looking at the numbers here. Let's go to your calls and thoughts, though. First, Jake is in Connecticut. You're on the amp lines on Free Talk Live. Hey, Jake.
Afternoon or evening, gentlemen.
Hey there. Go ahead.
Hi. So about the Millennials, I believe that the solution is pretty simple. In that, I'm not sure if it's the same study, but it's a similar study. They found that American Millennials were more confident than any other population when we gave the answer, but also more likely to be wrong. So it's pretty obvious that it's the self-esteem that is taught in our schools that really does a lot of harm. Tom Woods just did an episode about it, I think like 2 weeks ago, with a psychiatrist who talked about how damaging self-esteem is to actual learning and productivity. So
run that by me again. I just want to make sure I understand.
The way I see it is, I'm a millennial myself, and in schools, millennials and people are just taught to value their own self-esteem. And when we were taking these tests, the answers, American millennials were more confident that they were right and more likely to be wrong than any other population.
Confident they were right and more likely they were wrong. All right. Yeah, that's a really bad combination. Confidence and stupidity hand in hand will take you down the road to destruction. Is all you need is anger tossed in, and you're really in bad shape.
Absolutely. And, I mean, as a millennial myself, I was homeschooled, so I was lucky enough to be told that I sucked when I sucked, and I think it worked pretty well. But
what do you think about the why do you think it is? Ian's asked a question here, and I think that it has some value to it. There's government. These kids that are kicking American kids' butts are educated in socialized government schools too. Why is it that these socialized government schools in these other countries are kicking the butts of the socialized government schools in this country?
Do they not have the same self-esteem curriculum? Because I think that's an interesting point that Jake is making here. Is that one of the differences? Not that you would know.
Well, I know in Japan, I mean, kids are told that they're terrible if they're not getting straight A's and getting into the top university. So I doubt self-esteem is very high on their curriculum.
So what you mean by that is not just the self-esteem, because self-esteem is not necessarily inherently a bad thing, right? Like, being confident and believing in yourself or whatever, believing that you're good, etc. But the idea being that in Japan there's this expectation of success, whereas in the United States maybe it's more of like, oh, well, you did your best, oh, there's no failure. Right? That, oh, well, we're going to give you an award anyway. Everyone gets an award. That kind of thing. Is that really self-esteem, or is it just like
delusional thinking?
Yeah, that's, I think, a better description.
Well, from what this psychiatrist was saying on Tom Wood's show, is that self-esteem is bad because when you fail and do badly, you believe that it's your own fault and that you're a terrible person because you failed in this one thing, instead of rationally looking at each individual activity as a success or failure and not base your entire psyche on it. And I'm no psychiatrist, but and I'm just paraphrasing what he said. But honestly, I really was affected by that show. I thought it was a lot of great information and a really interesting way of looking at your life.
Yeah, failure's no particular joy for anyone, but ultimately you can't succeed until you have failed. You don't even understand success until failure.
Yeah, that's true.
You're not destined as a human being to only do one thing particularly well, and you just fall into that thing and you do it over and over again, because you're Mozart or something. It's ridiculous. We all fail and at the things that we love doing until we get better at them. Hopefully, you continue to fail into the future to the point that you're able to grow and grow and grow. It's only when you begin succeeding that you cease to get better.
Jake, good call, man. I appreciate your insights here because that's exactly what I was looking for. Thanks for the call tonight. Somebody who's been through this, because Mark, when you and I went to school, it probably wasn't the same. You're in your early 40s, I'm in my mid 30s. And I'm sort of on the very edge of millennial versus Gen X. You are in the Gen X category. And, we went to school in the 80s and me the 90s. So 80s and 90s, I think, for both of us. And it was a different world back then. I imagine, even though they were government schools, the curriculum was
I wasn't always in a government school. I went to private schools, too.
I was at a government school. I would imagine the curriculum was different back then. I vaguely recall self-esteem being taught, but I don't recall having the sort of everyone's a winner kind of
I don't think I was
stuff.
ever presented with that. I can tell you one thing that happened in, I think it was 2nd or 3rd grade. They had these reading classes, and they were named after Indians. Perhaps this is not politically correct these days, but we were the sort of middle of the road. The low end was the Cherokees. You weren't supposed to say third-rate readers. So they had the Cherokee group, they had the Apache group, and they had the Crows. And I was in the Apache group. This was 2nd grade, and I was apparently, according to the teacher, said to my mother later, just on the line, she decided to put me into this to help the group, kind of drag them up as far as the readers. So I was like the worst good reader or the best Midland reader, if that makes any sense.
I got you.
And it just irked the heck out of me. And I remember the 2nd or 3rd day.
You didn't make the top pack.
Yeah, really did. And the 2nd or 3rd day, the Crows, you can hear it. You can hear it for the last decade. Me bugging you about being in the smart kid school that was in basically the same area where I went to school. I didn't go to the smart kid school. But anyway, the Crow kids. Well, you call kids crows, and they're going to make crow noises and flap their wings when they go to their reading group, right? So they're making crow noises, and it just here I'm like, oh, I'm going to kill you, Roy Klossner. And Roy's a doctor, by the way, and an acclaimed doctor at the University of Florida these days.
So that gave you that higher tier that you aspired towards, as opposed to just putting everybody on the same level and saying, you guys are all the best, all of you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think ultimately the plan failed, and she scrapped it after a few lessons, but it sort of let me know where I was in the group, so I tried harder.
I've got the Wikipedia article open on self-esteem just to kind of refresh on exactly what it can be defined as here. In sociology and psychology, self-esteem reflects a person's overall subjective emotional evaluation of his or her own worth. It's a judgment of oneself as well as an attitude toward the self. Self-esteem encompasses beliefs like I'm competent, I am worthy, and emotions such as triumph, despair, pride, and shame. Smith and Mackey define it by saying, quote, the self-concept is what we think about the self. Self-esteem is the positive or negative evaluations of the self, as in how we feel about it. Self-esteem is attractive as a social psychological construct because researchers have conceptualized it as an influential predictor of certain outcomes, such as academic achievement, happiness, satisfaction in marriage and relationships, and criminal behavior. Self-esteem can apply specifically to a particular dimension. For example, I believe I'm a good writer and feel happy about that. Or a global extent. For example, I believe I'm a bad person and feel bad about myself in general. So I think that, self-esteem on its own isn't a bad thing. I, in fact, am in favor of people thinking positively and believing good things about themselves. Like self-negative talk is, in my opinion, one of the most detrimental things that you can do to yourself.
Sure.
To say things like "I suck," "I'm stupid," I can't learn things," or whatever other down talk that people do talk about.
Right. Argue for your limitations, and you will get them.
Yeah. Right.
But I just don't think that they're very good in school. They just haven't really got it down. They're much better at deluding the kids than they are at sort of teaching them positive, positive self-worth.
Right. Yeah. It's one thing to say that I'm a good person. It's another thing to say that I'm the smartest person in the world. Right. You don't want to be delusional with your self-esteem. But if they're not grounded in reality to some extent, then I can see how they could get lost in that. And if the school system is encouraging that sort of lost, that lack of grounding, nothing to reach for, no goals to set, 855-450-FREE. That could be a danger.
Have you become a slave to big tobacco? Have they taken away your money, your health, and even your freedom, forcing you to stand out in the cold this winter? There's an alternative. With the help of Jimmy the Juice Man and GiantVapes.com, for less than the cost of a carton of cigarettes, you can make the switch to electronic cigarettes and take back your freedom. At GiantVapes.com, you'll find a selection of high-quality, reasonably priced electronic cigarette hardware kits to get you started, and a selection of delicious, premium, flavored liquid refills from the award-winning Jimmy the Juice Man brand. These aren't the junk you find at your local gas station. Use the coupon code FTL10 for 10% off your first order of hardware and Jimmy the Juice Man brand liquid at GiantVapes.com, where you will always get free guaranteed same-day shipping. Break free of the chains of sin taxes and big tobacco. Free same-day shipping and 10% off from GiantVapes.com. Giant, VAPES.com with coupon code FTL10.
Is negative content or comments on the web affecting your personal or professional reputation? Unfavorable comments, embarrassing pictures, videos, legal documents, and bad tweets can ruin your personal life, your career, or your business. It happens a lot, and it's just not fair. But what can you do? Reputation.com can protect your good name. Get a free consultation now at 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Call right now for a free expert reputation analysis. It's easy to squash the unfair attacks with our patented system, and the analysis is absolutely free. Make the best things about you jump out in searches. Protect your personal and professional reputation, your business, and your income. Get your free reputation analysis from Reputation.com right now. Call 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement, and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. It's Friday and metals are rocking. Gold is up $19 at $1,074 per ounce. Silver is 21 cents higher at $14.38 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $360 US. We still have plenty of 2015 US Mint silver and gold eagle coins available. Get yours today. Give Robertson Roberts a call at 800-874-9760 or shop online at rrbi.co.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here on the radio waves. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Kids today. Well, I guess millennials. Young people today. They're not kids anymore. But they are apparently scoring not so great compared to their contemporaries around the rest of the globe in 21, 22 other countries. Mark, you've got the statistics, the details on that. We're going to continue with that discussion, but I also want to let you know that to protect yourself online, you should be encrypting your internet connection with ProXPN. They will actually encrypt your data connection so your internet service provider won't know what you're doing online. Go to proxpn.com and you can get started there. For Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, Linux, whatever operating system you're on, ProXPN can help you. ProXPN does not keep logs of your activities whatsoever. And we did learn recently, though, that ProXPN does not encrypt DNS requests. So you do need to keep that in mind when using this. That would require them to run, I guess, their own DNS servers, and that's not something that they do, I guess, at this time, is our understanding. So if you want to get your DNS requests out from your current internet service provider, the DNS is like the lookup service for websites. When you go to freetalklive.com, DNS is where you send a request out. Your computer sends a request to the DNS server that your internet service provider provides, and then they return the IP address of that website, and then your computer goes to that site. So if you want to prevent that from happening and you're using ProXPN, you can just change your DNS settings to you can change them to like Google DNS or OpenDNS or some other alternative to get that away from your internet service provider as well. So there are ways for you to protect yourself there as well. ProXPN.com. Use code FTL50. That's code FTL50, like Free Talk Live, and 50 as in 50% off the regular monthly price for the lifetime of the annual account at proxpn.com. Use the internet the way it was meant to be used. Let's go to your calls and thoughts, though. Ralph is in New Jersey. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Ralph.
Yeah, let me continue on talking about the Black Lives Matter. And there's a question that I really like to ask at this point in time, considering that, you know, the state of Black America can be described in two words: desperation and dire. And what is Obama doing to address that?
Where's Black America?
Excuse me?
Where is Black America?
Anywhere you know, Detroit could be that, okay? Washington, D.C. could be that, Philadelphia, Newark, you know.
Is every Black American part of Black America?
Are they part of America? They supposedly, you know, have a stake in this country, but they feel alienated about, you know, some issues.
Every Black American feels alienated?
Is going on right now, as we see the spectacle going on with, you know, Yale University.
Ralph, aren't you from the Philippines or something like that?
Yes.
Are all people from the Philippines the same?
I don't think they are.
Okay, why do you treat black people like they are?
I don't treat black people the same. Okay. Of course,
okay, well then stop talking about them like they are this one group that all has the same beliefs and concerns and problems.
They are the one who self-identify themselves as that. What do you think of the term African?
How do you suppose they go about stopping self-identifying themselves as black?
Answer the question. Where does the term African American comes from? Where?
I don't have any idea where it comes from.
Someone in America came.
Somebody was scared of saying black. That's why, because it has a hard K sound. I think.
Let me say this, okay? Let me say this. Obviously, it does not matter to Obama black lives, okay? The fact that
I'll give you that. He doesn't care about anybody, except maybe his own family.
The fact that he does not address the plight of blacks in this country right now, you know, black lives does not matter to Obama. And my take about how Black Lives Matter is this. If they get their act together and get rid of the drug, get rid of the crime and the guns that's pouring into the neighborhood and in their midst, okay, then Black Lives Matter, okay? That's number one. Number two, they need to take responsibility for their own action, okay? They really need to. Not pass the blame on someone else.
But shouldn't that be true of everybody, Ralph?
On you and your friend.
Shouldn't everyone be responsible for their own actions?
They should be. Yes, absolutely.
So there's plenty of irresponsible whites, Filipinos, Mexicans. There's plenty of irresponsible people, right?
Lots of irresponsible people that work for the government, too.
Well, you know,
why don't we just talk about people being responsible or irresponsible? How about that? Why don't we talk about people who are being criminal or not?
Excuse me now?
I said, why don't we talk about people being irresponsible or not, instead of grouping everyone into the color of their skin?
Against that. I'm not the one who's,
you are obsessed with this. It is every single time you call this show. It's Black Lives this, Black Lives that, Obama this, Obama that.
With this whole idea and concept of group and identity politics. As a matter of fact, I reject that whole thing altogether. Can't you understand that?
Oh, I believe you want that.
Understand what
but
you just said.
He says identity politics. He's saying that. I believe you want that. It's just when you talk about it over and over and over again, you sound obsessed. And obsessed people are dangerous.
Thanks, Ralph, for the call tonight. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. As we continue here, I think that, all lives matter, and individuals are the ones who need to clean up their act if there's a problem. Individuals are the ones who need to be responsible for their choices in life.
Who else could be?
Yeah.
Who besides an individual, who besides the person committing the act, can possibly be responsible?
Well, government does like to transfer responsibility from one group to another.
They like very much to transfer it away from themselves. I was really thinking about that as they said it. Oftentimes we'll talk about particular social groups, and they'll say that, what we need is more government programs in this area and that area. When you talk about government schools, the government has your kid about half of the waking hours already, and they still fail. They start getting your kid in pre-K programs, and they keep them through university. And what do they spit out? A bunch of incompetent boobs who can't take responsibility for themselves.
It's supposed to not be a school. It's supposed to be a home.
Right. This is, you're quoting, you're paraphrasing at the very least,
yeah,
a woman from Yale University when complaining about a free speech event to the dean.
It's really hard to call
camera.
It's really hard to call her a woman. I mean, she sounds like a crying baby.
No, there's enough incompetent adults that to not call somebody. If responsibility and competency is the criteria by which we decide to call people men or women or ladies or gentlemen, then we will be calling nearly no one those terms. And you're going to have to hold yourself to that same criteria, and then every time you're responsible, you don't get to call yourself a man. So
you have more on the millennial study, is that right?
That's right.
All right, more on the millennials in America versus everyone else. 855-450-FREE, and you're welcome to share your thoughts here on the Live Sunday edition. This is Free Talk Live.
A lot of people's lives and bodies are out of balance. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops optimize pH level and get rid of harmful waste and acid. Just a few drops in water restores vibrance and energy and gets you back in balance. Now order 2 bottles and get $10 off your order. Sign up for monthly auto shipping and save 25%. Call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
Are your Google search results killing you? Unflattering content in blogs, news articles, online reviews, social media, or other sources can jeopardize your reputation, your business, and your livelihood. Let Reputation.com help. Our patented technology will make the truth about you more visible while pushing down unwanted negative content. Improve your Google search results. Call Reputation.com at 1-800-831-0771 for a free consultation. That's 800-831-0771.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com. Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Your thoughts on the failure of American millennials, at least in the study that looked at their performance on a variety of subjects, I guess, in testing between American millennials and other millennials around the globe, as well as other age demographics.
Literacy, numeracity, and problem-solving in a technology-rich environment. Those are the areas that were tested.
Got it.
The idea is...
And we've already looked at literacy so far, right?
Sure. Okay. I mean, as valuable as it is to say no music or history, those aren't the areas that are going to sort of advance one nation against another, if that makes sense. Literacy, numeracity, which is the ability to apply math to everyday situations, and problem solving in a technology-rich environment, those things, they have a better chance of predicting successes of nation states throughout the next couple of decades.
So what's next from this study?
Yep. So if the question you're asking yourself is, maybe the older millennials, maybe they're a bunch of dum-dums and they're dragging down the younger millennials. Maybe that's really what's happening here. The younger millennials, they really understand problem solving in a technology-rich environment. Not so. The youngest segment of the U.S. millennial cohort, that's the 16 to 24-year-olds, those are about as young as you can go and really test them, who could be in...
Well, right, because if you go younger, then the argument is, well, they haven't had enough time to learn.
Yep. The labor force, they'll be in the labor force potentially for the next 50 years. That is assuming they actually go out and get jobs, right? They may not. They just may decide, parents' house is fine and we'll rest on our laurels and stay down here in the basement. But, yeah, ranked last in numerosity, along with Italy and the bottom countries and other bottom countries in problem solving in a technology-rich environment. In literacy, they scored higher than their peers in Italy and Spain, basically coming in second to last. So there you go. Top scoring U.S. millennials, those in the 90th percentile. This is important because you'll say to yourself, look, just because the millennials apparently are a bunch of dum-dums, there's still a small segment of those millennials who are going to do really well. Top scoring millennials, those in the 90th percentile, scored lower than top scoring millennials in 15 of the 22 participating countries. Yikes. And only scored higher than their peers in Spain. So they tied second to last.
So the smartest Americans weren't so great when compared to the rest of the world.
The smartest other kids in other countries.
Smartest American millennials. Gotcha.
Yes. And well, let's say, well, at the very least, our slowpokes and dum-dums are better than their slowpokes and dum-dums. Nope. Low-scoring U.S. millennials, those in the 10th percentile, ranked last, along with Italy and England, Northern Ireland, and scored lower than millennials in 19 participating countries.
So across the board, smart, dumb, average millennials scoring lower than almost every other developed country.
U.S. U.S. millennials tied for last among 22 developed nations. And I don't know what else to say about that. It doesn't look good. So here's the question I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We all know. We can look at history and we can see that nations rise and nations fall. We know that they're born, the people, they claw their way to the top, and then at some point or another they begin resting on their laurels, and that's it. They fall apart. Is that going to happen in my lifetime? Are we going to see the United States government crumbling because they can't produce? This is it. This is what they've got. Governments are human tax livestock farms. That's what they do. And they have to compete against other human tax livestock farms. Your human tax livestock farm, known as the United States of America, has the best military in the world, but other than that, they stink.
Well, the military doesn't produce anything but destruction.
They can go kill the other country's smart kids. That's ultimate. That is the ultimate power, right? Oh, you're smarter than me. You're faster than me. You're better with numbers than me, and you're better with technology. Bam! All right, get up from that. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, now get up.
But that's only if they didn't do a very good job at killing the people in Afghanistan. Those are people living in caves. So
they didn't try to wipe out the country.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The only way they'd be able to do that would be to nuke some other country, right? Like if they actually go in and try to take over or something like that, they're going to find that those smart kids are going to be pretty good at defending their country.
The United States hasn't lost a war against a nation in recent history. It's the peace that they lose because they go in and they attempt policing actions. So in Afghanistan, they weren't fighting Afghanistan. They were fighting the Taliban and they were fighting Al-Qaeda. And they took over the country of Afghanistan. They put in their own puppet dictator. But they can't rule. You can't rule from afar. And that's something they've never gotten down. They couldn't do it in Korea. They couldn't do it in Vietnam. They couldn't do it in Afghanistan. They couldn't do it in Iraq. And they're never going to be able to do it. The United States people just love their team to go, go out there and kick that other team's butt. And then when they realize, holy crap, this is trillions of dollars it costs to rebuild a nation that we blew up for no particularly good reason. Well, that's a different story. Now, what I'm referring to here, this has to do with competition in the area of academics. And so I'm just telling people, straight up, I want to know, is this the end? Has the United States reached its pinnacle of power, its pinnacle of influence? And is it going to be?
I hope so.
Why do you want the United States government to go?
I want the U.S. government to completely dissolve.
What country do you want? What superpower do you want to take its place?
None. I wanted to devolve back to the power of the states, and then ultimately to the individual.
Okay, we're not talking about the United States landmass here. We're talking about the world. Okay, which superpower do you want to take the place of the United States?
I don't want any of that.
You don't think that that's going to happen? You don't think China and Russia are thinking about, sure would be great when the United States is gone?
It's none of my business.
Yeah, well,
and I won't have any say in it. So what does it matter what I have to say about that?
I'm just saying that there might be an issue there. One power does.
I don't think Russia's going to invade New Hampshire. I don't think that's
probably not.
Yeah. So I'm not really worried about it.
They do have some areas that they're interested in. They're certainly their military isn't as big as the United States is, but they've got some designs on some places.
All right. So, I mean, without getting deep into the rest of this, we've been comparing millennials to millennials.
That's it.
So they didn't give any comparisons between like the 65-year-old bracket or whatever.
No, this is about millennials.
I'm sorry. I thought you said they interviewed or they did. Okay, so the report's not reporting on that, is what you're saying.
The report is long as it could possibly be.
Right.
So this is an article on
only
the
on
report.
The millennials. Okay.
I went and looked at the report to verify that this article isn't a bunch of bull crap written by a place called brobible.com.
I gotcha.
And
like a good
other than that, I have no intention of poring over the numbers to see how our baby boomers do against their baby boomers.
Okay, I thought they were also might have compared the millennials versus the baby boomers, but not in this version of the
no, this is a comparison millennials in this country versus millennials in other countries, and I think it's really important. Americans are all worried about people coming across the southern border into this country, and they want to build a wall. You better not have a wall because you might want to get out of here.
In.
Right?
Yeah.
You can see what happens when places with big intrusive governments begin to crumble. We have Detroit to look at. And everybody left there because they have a wall around Detroit.
Right.
Where are you going to go? What are your plans? Because there's an inevitable fall to governments ever, and the United States is inevitably going to fall. Now, I'm not dancing around its grave. I like this particular tax livestock farm better than most of them. This is the one I was born on. I understand it better than most. I get it. But I don't get to choose when the United States falls. I just know that it will. And so I'm wondering, where are you planning on going? What are you planning on doing? Do you think that this is an indication that it's not going to make it out of my lifetime? I wonder.
I'm planning on staying here in New Hampshire because I moved here as part of the Free State Project, which is a movement of what will hopefully be 20,000 liberty-minded people who will focus their efforts in this one place here in New Hampshire to make a more free place and hopefully, ultimately, to leave the United States and be independent. That's not part of the Free State Project's mission, but that's what I'd like to see. It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Are your kids spending too much time online? Are they gaming instead of doing homework? Are they on Facebook instead of sleeping? Turn their internet access on or off when you want for free at webcurfew.com. 100% web-based interface means nothing to download, install, or configure. Web Curfew is free and controls any device using your home network without slowing down your internet. Block all adult web content with a click of a button. Don't let the internet raise your kids. Take back control of how and when your home internet is used for free. Visit webcurfew.com.
Concerned about harmful contaminants in your water? Look to ProPure, the most trusted name in gravity water filtration systems. ProPure, with the silver-infused Pro 1G 2.0 filter, removes over 200 contaminants, including VOCs, heavy metals, chloramines, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, fluorides, and radiologicals. We don't just say it, we back it up. The Pro 1G 2.0 filter is NSF 42 certified and independently tested to meet NSF SF53 and P231 standards. Pro Pure Water, the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. Purchase with confidence in quality, performance, and customer service. Take advantage of our biggest holiday 25% off sale going on now. Visit your authorized Pro Pure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com. Or call 800-544-3533. 800-544-3533.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit, did your nerves spike? You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Moments remain here, enough time for you. If you want to join us, the toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
And don't forget, you can join us online. Brand new, redesigned website over at freetalklive.com. Please stop in there and check it out. Also, if you support Free Talk Live and you want to help help us get on more radio stations, expand our satellite coverage, reach out to more internet listeners, then you can support the show for $5 a month or Bitcoin equivalent. Now with the AMP program. It's amp.freetalklive.com. You get perks like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, AMP-only podcast, the AMP-only Facebook group, and more. Go to amp.freetalklive.com. Get signed up with Bitcoin or any major credit card through PayPal or Visa or MasterCard right there on the site. amp.freetalklive.com. More about millennials. Not only are they failing to match up with other millennials, that is, the American millennials are doing poorly in comparison to their peers around the globe academically in different categories. Mark, you were telling us about that. There's this story from Fact Tank. This is PewResearch.org, the Pew survey, folks. American millennials, they say, are far more likely than older generations in America to say the government should be able to prevent people from saying offensive statements about minority groups, according to a new analysis of Pew Research Center data on free speech and media across the globe. They asked whether people believe that citizens should be able to make public statements that are offensive to minority groups, or whether the government should be able to prevent people from saying these things. 4 out of 10 millennials, that's 40% of them, say the government should be able to prevent people from publicly making statements that are offensive to minority groups, while 58% said such speech is okay. Even though
okay is a completely different than.
Well, they're summarizing.
Yes, I know. The
response was that people should government should be able to prevent people from saying those things, or that people should be able to say those things publicly.
Well, I think that, as much as reprehensible as it might sound or whatever, it's obviously, if you don't protect unpopular speech, there's no particular reason to protect popular speech.
Right, and that's the whole idea behind freedom of speech. I myself am uncomfortable with this particular brand of speech. I don't much care for it being on my radio show and people call in about it, but at least we're here. We can call them out and, make fun of them or whatever. But you don't have to allow that speech when you have private property. But this isn't about private property. This is about in public, which of course is the idea of public property, where free speech is purportedly protected. The freedom of speech only protects speech on public property. It protects speech in the public square, in public circumstances. It does not protect speech on private property. So when someone says the F word on Free Talk Live, we hit the dump button. Not because I'm against profanity, but because our radio stations don't appreciate it. It could put their licenses in jeopardy, but more than that, even if there weren't government licenses for radio, it would still likely jeopardize their relationships with their advertisers, for instance. So likely it wouldn't be allowed even if there were no FCC. So, that's a private property rule, but it doesn't mean that we're against free speech. We are in favor of free speech because it is the unpopular speech that needs to be protected, even the stuff that is despicable. And it seems like 4 out of 10 millennials don't understand that. When you do a further breakdown on this, it's actually the older generations who understand this better. 12% of the silent generation, people ages 70 to 87, say that the government should prevent people from saying these offensive things. 24% of baby boomers age 50.
I just wonder how many of the old people are the ones saying the offensive racial stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. 51 baby boomers age 51 to 69, 24% of them say government should be able to prevent it. And Gen Xers at 27%, Gen X age 35 to 50. So it's the millennials with the largest number that, they don't get it on this issue. Now, why is this? Is it because the government, again, is doing a poor job of educating young people about their rights? What are the reasons for this? Even though a larger share of millennials favor allowing offensive speech against the minorities, the 40% who oppose it is striking, given that only a quarter of Gen Xers, and then compare the rest. Compared with people we surveyed in dozens of nations, Americans as a whole are less likely to favor the government being able to prevent speech of any kind.
Well, there are plenty of nations that have sort of hate crime rules.
Sure.
More so than the United States does. So, and they don't quantify free speech in the same way that the United States does. As we had Tom Mullen on earlier, 200 years ago, the philosophies of liberty were stronger. Now you read through the UN document on human rights or whatever, and you're going to find there's all kinds of rights that are just sort of created out of thin air and hold another person in obligation for your rights. Freedom of speech comes from the inside. You have the right to say what you want to say because you own your vocal cords. Now, obviously, you have to be able to – it has to be in an appropriate place, town square, on your own property, places like that. But ultimately, you should be able to say what you want and bear the consequences of what you say. You go out to town square and you talk about how a particular minority group is a bunch of dum-dums or criminal behavior or whatever it is that you say about them, it could go poorly for you, and I shan't shed a tear.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. Reverend Dan Wigg calling from New Hampshire. It's Free Talk Live. Hello, Reverend Dan Wigg. Going once, going twice. I'll put Dan on hold. Maybe he's in a bad cell. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. More from the study. The global survey found that a majority of Americans say people should be able to say offensive things about minority groups publicly. 2/3 of Americans say this, compared with a median of 35% among 38 nations that they polled. So around the globe, only about a third, median, meaning that half of the nations scored higher and half scored lower. the 35%, that's pretty poor. There's not a lot of belief in freedom of speech elsewhere. So, America still rises to the top on that particular scale, which is a good thing. But is that changing for the future with the millennials not really getting it about freedom of speech? Are they going to learn over time, or is this going to continue on, this trend of 4 out of 10 of them that are opposing the freedom of speech?
I hope that they will figure it out, because this is a really simple way to look at it. You don't need speech protected for popular speech. It's only unpopular speech that needs protection. That's obvious to anyone who spends any time thinking about it. Look, there's certainly some speech that's more reprehensible than other speech, but ultimately, ideas have to fly or fail on their own merit. If they don't, then those ideas will gain strength. If you attempt to quash an idea rather than destroy that idea with more ideas, that idea is going to gain strength. It's going to get bigger and
true.
Stronger because, well, why are you trying to keep it down? Well, there you go.
Like
That's
Obi-Wan Kenobi and Star Wars.
It'll keep coming back, except it's usually an evil Obi-Wan Kenobi.
In the U.S., the findings, do show a racial divide, with non-whites more likely to support government prevention of such speech than non-Hispanic whites at 23%. So 38% of non-whites more likely to support government prevention than non-Hispanic whites at 23%.
They have decided at some point in the relatively recent past to start distinguishing between white people and non-Hispanic white people. So, for instance, Cubans, often get identified as Hispanic whites, if that makes sense to you, or, that sort of thing. Hispanic simply means a person from a place where they speak Spanish.
Let's go to Mr. Statesman calling from New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live. Mr. Statesman.
Hello.
Hey.
I have a question. Why will we ever need to speak out against the government?
Boy, is that a serious question?
Well, because the government started by speaking out against the government.
No. Our government is our friend. We would never need to say anything wrong about them.
Wasn't King George our friend too?
We're North Korea.
Wasn't our government our friend when King George was the government?
No. They were the evil government. Our government's great now.
This is the good government. We now have the good government.
Yeah, we're on the good team.
What would make you believe that this government was actually, in point of fact, not good, but is indeed evil?
What could Washington, D.C. do that would possibly make them?
Absolutely nothing. They do nothing wrong.
Right.
Hence your name, Mr. Statesman, right? Yeah. Hey, thanks for the call. We are out of time for you tonight, but you can join us tomorrow night if you didn't get your thoughts and your call in here. We do it 7 nights a week, live 7 to 10 at night Eastern Time, online at freetalklive.com on over 160 radio stations from coast to coast. If you support the show, then do it for $5 a month or Bitcoin equivalent with the Free Talk Live AMP program. Don't forget to go to amp.freetalklive.com and exercise your freedom of speech, because if you don't exercise your rights, you won't have them in the future.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
If there was a place that liberty-minded people had been elected to political positions and were rolling back government, would you move there? If freedom lovers had secured a 20% voting block and can veto most bad bills, would you move? Well, the time has come to sign the pledge at freestateproject.org. These things have happened in New Hampshire, and you can join us and help. freestateproject.org. Sign up now at freestateproject.org.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to creditsuccesssecretsrevealed.com.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm.
Cryptocurrency and peer-to-peer tech developments happen fast. Stay in the loop with the Daily Decrypt, a new video channel and podcast that will keep you on top of the latest innovations in crypto finance, security, networking, transportation, and gadgetry like drones and 3D printers. Subscribe to the Daily Decrypt on YouTube and SoundCloud and be an early adopter of the future. The Daily Decrypt.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm. The latest edition of Live Free FM is next on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.fm. Get more at livefreefm.com.
What up, free market? This is Live Free FM, episode number 15. I think this one's going to be titled Behind the Scenes of Alternative Media. I've got Chris and Cherie Gio joining me today, longtime personal friends of mine. We've kind of come up in this alternative media movement together, and today I invited them on the show to kind of give you, the listener, a behind-the-scenes look at what some of the shady stuff that goes on in the alternative media realm, and how, there's a lot of really good people in alternative media, and fortunately, I feel blessed to be surrounded by a lot of those really good people. But there's also some shady people in the alternative media movement as well. And we talk about some of our experiences along the way that maybe haven't tainted the way that we look at alternative media, but have definitely